Yes, yes, y'all. What's going on, folks? It is episode 21 of the 22 Shots and Moods in Horror. And you probably already noticed that there's a new voice here off the top of the
All right.
show. Yeah, Jeremy's not with us tonight, so I am going to be hosting the 21st episode of the show. Yeah, what's up, JP? What's going on, buddy?
Well, I'm just chilling after work. I had to run home and watch Mr. Jones before we started the show. Um, I
I pretty
did
much did the exact same thing.
really.
Yeah.
I always try to wait till the day before, the day of, or the day before we do the show to watch the main review because I like to keep it as fresh as possible in my head, so I have things to say about it, which usually isn't a problem with me anyway.
Yeah, I'm the same way actually. I mean, if we're gonna do the main review, might as well just keep it really nice and fresh. So yeah, on that note, of course, this week's main review is gonna be the 2014 release of Mr. Jones, released by, of course, Anchor Bay. So yeah, we'll be getting into that a little bit later. But yeah, JP, how's your weekend going?
Pretty crappy because it's all work filled, but I did actually grab a copy of Horror Hound. I barely ever see them in my area, like in store, because they don't have them in like my Walmarts or anything. But I actually went to a bookstore and I got a copy of. I don't know if it was last month's issue or what, but it's the
What's
one with the Troma. It's like the Toxic Avengers on there, and it's like the Troma issue.
Yeah, Horrorhound does their issues bi-monthly, so there's only 6 issues a year.
I really hate that. I would want. Well, I would definitely subscribe if I got one. Well, I probably will subscribe eventually anyway, but I'm kind of just taking my time on it. I like picking them up here and there. I want to
Mhm.
try to get some of the back issues because I really like some of the ones I picked up on eBay for really cheap. But
Yeah,
the
I really like Horrorhound magazine. I really like the older issues when they used to do VHS kind
Invasion,
of
Video
spotlight.
Invasion, or
Yeah,
whatever it's
Video
called.
Invasion. Yeah, they did those for probably the first like half of their run, and I think they kind of ran out of companies to do because they haven't done them. I think in like the last year or
I
whatever. But
want to. I'm not 100% sure. Did you get the Toxic Avenger one?
yeah, that was my last issue in my subscription. I never renewed it because it's actually cheaper for me to buy them in the store every 2 months than it is to get the subscription, which is weird because Whorehound, of course, being an American magazine, the shipping up here is like ridiculous. And I actually end up paying like I think it works out to about 13 or 14 bucks an issue, which is
Wow.
ridiculous because I can buy them on the stands for the price that's on them for 9.99. So over a year it's only if it's 3 4 bucks, it's what like 20 24 25 bucks, but still it's not the point. But ironically enough though, I actually went down to my local newsstand to go grab the new issue, like the May June issue. They don't even fucking have it yet.
Are you serious?
I was like, shit, man. So I'm kind of freaking out because I haven't missed an issue of Warhound in it's been a few years now, and yeah, I don't have the new one, and it's driving me nuts. I'm like, should I just resubscribe? But I'm like, fuck it, I'll wait for it. So, but
See, I like. See, I was never familiar with horror magazines. I did not grow up with them. I never even see. I know a lot of people's some of their first experiences with horror was seeing a horror magazine at the newsstand with like Freddy on the cover, of Fangoria issue or something. I never seen one until way later in my life. Like around the time I got on YouTube, I think was the first time I ever seen one. I think it was a Horror Hound one issue.
really,
Yeah, it's so weird. So I always kind of hear those stories of people like how they, would love getting the new Fangoria or something, and those nostalgic stories. And I always kind of wish that I was part of that because I totally missed out on it.
yeah, I wish I still had a bunch of my really old Fangoria magazines. Fangoria used to be actually done in black and white way back in the day, which is really cool. I don't have any of those issues anymore. I had a subscription to Horrorhound to Fangoria a few different times. I would have it for a couple years and then I would get rid of it. And again, I don't have one because I found that like I had one a few years ago, and we were just talking about this how they kind of went like real mainstream and stuff, and the articles and everything just kind of went down the shitter. But they've actually gotten a lot better. I've checked out
That's
a
what I
couple.
keep hearing. I keep
Yeah,
hearing they came back.
I think they like changed, I don't know, editor. I don't know what was going on there, but somebody
Yeah.
else took over, whatever. But kind of changed the magazine back around. They're kind of focusing on what they used to, and which is really cool because now it's a lot of the older people that used to read the magazine are coming back to it. But yeah, again, weirdly enough, I went to go pick up this month's issue of Fangoria, and it was not on the stand, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And the only magazine that I still have a subscription to is Rue Morgue, which is worth it for me because it's a Canadian, magazine, and I don't pay through the roof, and it's a good deal to get a subscription to it, and so. It's the only one I have. It is my favorite one out of the three. I really like the structure. For a long time I was really big into Horror Hound. I love the video vision and stuff, but I really like the articles and stuff the way Rue Morgue is just structured. I really like the structure of the magazine, but nothing to take away from Horror Hound. It's really awesome. And actually, on that note of magazines, Fangoria is re-brought back Gore Zone.
Yeah, I did see that, and I was unfamiliar with Gore Zone until I was. I guess I seen one with Linnea Quigley on the cover, and I was like, "I'm about to subscribe to Gore Zone. It looks really cool." Are they?
Yeah,
do you have them?
I actually haven't gotten around. I keep forgetting to, but I am going to subscribe to it because it's the only way you can get them. Fangoria, they did say that they're not going to put them on newsstands. So the only way to get the Gore Zone issues is to subscribe through the website. So
I did hear a bit about that, and they actually can't get them on the newsstands. They will not accept them, I guess, unless they bag them. I think if they bag them, they could get them there. But
that makes sense, though. I mean, it was like, I remember back in the day with, porno magazines, for instance, there used to be some that were bagged on shelves and stuff. They used to put them, in bags and stuff, for that exact reason. I think
I was even alive for that.
Yeah, and I don't think they do it so much anymore because I think porno is just like porno. I don't know.
Who buys porno mags anymore?
Well, that's the thing. That's probably the thing. But I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine it costing a whole lot to, just kind of bag it up and put it on the stands. But you know what? Whatever. I mean, I do like the idea of having subscriptions because then you don't have to worry about it. You don't, if you do forget about it for a month or whatever, it's probably going to come to your doorstep.
I like what they did with Gore Zone where they just continued where they left off with the issue number. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like 36 now or whatever.
Yeah, I thought that was actually really cool that they did that. That's really cool.
Also, just last thing on the horror magazines is as I was reading some of the stuff about the Troma and what was it? Class of Nukem High Volume 1? Is that what it was? The new film? What was it called? Yeah. Return to Nukem High? Okay. Yeah. As I was reading that, it kind of made me get a little bit more of an appreciation for Troma. Because you know me, I'm not really big into it. I never really got into Troma. My knowledge of Troma is pretty bare. But it definitely got me a little more intrigued to check out some of the more popular titles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like, Troma's always been one of those companies where, like, if you have a really bad, like, first or second experience with Troma, that you tend to kind of stray away from it. And I understand that Troma's not for everybody. But, at the same time, you got to remember that a lot of the films that they release under the Troma label is, they're just releasing too. So there are some pretty damn good titles. Like, recently I reviewed Necronos on Body Bags. Just there's a real nasty plug. But no, anyways, this is relating to what I'm talking about. But anyways, it was from Troma. In my review, I even stated that, don't fucking get discouraged that it's released by Troma. It's nothing like a typical Troma film at all. This movie's like insanely fucking graphic and gory. There's so much killings and just nastiness in this film. It's a German film. But, that's a perfect example of, a Troma film, quote unquote. But that you should probably check out, and as for the actual, like, Troma produced films, can't go wrong with, the Toxies and, the Class of Nukem Highs and, stuff like that, man. I think they're fun, but, it's cool, man. If you need any recommendations on films and stuff, I will be happy to throw some your way.
Yeah, I'll definitely get into Troma a little bit more. I'll pick up a couple titles, but I find it interesting that it almost seems like with me, it was just weird that I ended up. It just so happens that Full Moon was what was around, like, out of those two companies, because they're kind of very similar. They're independent companies that lasted forever. And Full Moon, I remember seeing everywhere, like, the Puppet Master film, Head of the Family, like all that stuff growing up in the 90s. But I never would see the Troma stuff in my area. So that is quite possibly why I never at all got into Troma. I just didn't know about it.
To be honest, it was the exact same way with me too. Growing up, I remember seeing nothing but Full Moon stuff around here. Um, Especially Puppet Master stuff. Like that was
Yeah,
really,
Puppet Master was big. Puppet
was kind of
Master
the
was way bigger than it ever deserved to really than it had a right to be. You know what I mean? Like Puppet Master was up there with like the big franchises at one point.
yeah, yeah, and it's interesting too because I mean we've discussed this before. The original Puppet Master film isn't even actually that good.
No,
Like
it's not.
it's watchable, but it's not that great. And like I think even part two, and like part three being my favorite. I think your favorite too. It is kind of interesting.
It's
But
definitely the best film. That's back when I believe they were also had like they were backed by Paramount, and
mhm.
Paramount was throwing them some wads of cash to make some films.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and getting back to Full Moon and stuff. But yeah, totally. I totally understand where you're coming from here with Full Moon. I used to see it around all the time, and for Troma stuff, it was very skimpy.
Hmm.
I remember seeing little things, and it was more of the mascots of Troma. It was basically
Toxie and
It
stuff.
was
They
Toxie
even
stuff.
had that cartoon, and so that's crazy. That's still pretty crazy when you think
Yeah,
about it.
like I remember Class of Nukem High as a kid too, and little things, but like not as much as Full Moon. Like it seemed like Full Moon films and paraphernalia of Full Moon was everywhere. Um, Kind of interesting, but yeah, I
End
feel
on
you on that one.
this: Full Moon or Troma?
It's an interesting question. Oh, man, I love both, but I'd probably have to go with Troma just because I don't know. No real reason here, but if I really had to break it down, for my favorite films, I think I like
More
the
of them
Toxic
come
films.
from
Come from
Troma,
Troma.
probably.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I could watch the Toxic films, but Class of Nukem High, though, I think is probably better than pretty much anything that Full Moon has ever released. But I don't know, but that's just my opinion, though, too, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's just right off the
I'm a
dome, not
Full
really
Moon
thinking
guy.
it
I
through.
love me some Full Moon. I know you love Full Moon too.
Oh, totally.
Um,
One
it,
thing I love about Full Moon, and we've talked about this before in the past, is that when you're watching a Full Moon film, it feels like a Full Moon
yeah.
film. Like it has that always that awesome score, and just has that low budget atmosphere to it. It
And they're so
always
short
works.
that you can marathon them like crazy.
Oh, dude, you can watch like 400 Full Moon films in one night.
Yeah.
It's really crazy, man. So yeah, alrighty. So do we want to bust into this news since we just talked for yeah, we haven't got into the news yet, but
Yeah, so the news this week is very, very short. Way shorter than normal. I think this is the shortest week of news besides that week that I just didn't have any news because I was I fucked up and didn't get it. um, so the first little piece of news is kind of a smaller piece. Um, Joe Dante is going to be executive producing a film called The Dark. Um, just that's kind of it based on what I've read. There's not much. A disturbed young woman must confront her worst fears when she finds herself trapped alone in a New York City loft during the 2003 blackout. Now, if this was like the 1986 blackout, it might be cool because New York in the 80s and 70s and early 90s was awesome. Not so much in 2003.
yeah, I totally feel you on that one. I agree.
I mean, interesting premise, but it's just Joe Dante producing. I mean, there's really not much to it.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually heard of this, so
Yeah. After that, you remember the film Skyline, which was from 2010? It was like some kind of alien invasion film or something. It looked really bad from the moment that I seen it, so I never watched it.
yeah, I never
And that's
checked it out either. I've actually heard like mixed kind of reviews on it. I heard that some people actually enjoyed that one, but it didn't really look like my cup of tea. So
it's totally not my cup of tea. Big, expensive sci-fi action, like Battle Los Angeles-y type of
mhm,
stuff. I'm not
yeah,
really big into that stuff, man. I like
mm.
I don't like. I like my aliens looking more like bio, like not so much like giant like machine type
Hmm.
creatures. Like I like them more like just like Alien, like the film.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess they're making a sequel to this,
Wow.
and I guess they're like cans like selling it or whatever. So yeah, I mean, that I don't I think that was a flop actually. The Skyline film.
Wasn't it supposed to be kind of like a blockbuster type film?
I
Wasn't
think
it
it was,
like
but
me?
I actually want to say that it might have had a small budget opposed
Hmm.
to a large blockbuster. But I think that was like the goal, like let's make a smaller film that looks like a big one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant though. I think with a lower budget, but they were kind of marketing it
Yeah,
like it was like this huge blockbuster and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
Because that's what it
yeah.
looked like in the trailer. Like the trailer is like very memorable in my head because it looked like all those other trailers for blockbuster films.
Mhm.
So yeah, I have absolutely no interest in Skyline 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll probably end up skipping that one also.
Another guy who we've been hearing things about like a lot lately, which is always interesting to me. Eli Roth is now attached to a supernatural thriller series called South of Hell for the Wii TV network. I think it's also produced by Blumhouse, which I believe is the company that did like uh, the James Wan films and stuff. Insidious and stuff like that. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say that's the company.
Okay, did you say for the Wii network?
Yeah, I don't even know what's the Wii network.
I don't know. I'm wondering if it's like a network that Nintendo has. It's like their network, like
No, it's like
Nintendo Wii.
WE.
Okay. Oh, it's actually Wii.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it follows a Georgia native who named Maria, who's a demon hunter. So yeah, it's like a TV series, but he's gonna direct the pilot, so at least the directing will be well done probably. So yeah, that's supposed to premiere in 2015. It has an 8 episode order, which is kind
Hmm.
of a weird number.
Yeah, interesting.
After that, we have a little kind of update on it, the remake. I
Yay.
guess what is happening is New Line is kind of uh, producing it, which New Line doesn't. It's a Warner Brothers um, sub label, I guess now, right? Isn't that what New Line is?
Yeah.
These like these studios like really confuses me nowadays. So I guess like it's going to New Line and they're gonna do it now or something. I mean, this has been going on since like 2012.
Hmm.
But I guess it's kind of more close to happening. I guess. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's funny because that always seems to pop up in the news. Is the it news.
yeah, and
Um,
it's never anything significant. It's like
no, it
now
isn't,
we're
and
probably moving forward with it. Like it's always that. That's the news, and
they're
it makes like
literally
huge headlines.
they're baby stepping with that one big time. Oh,
Mhm.
seriously, just stringing us along, man. Just you know what? Somebody just make the fucking thing and we'll watch it.
We'll
Okay.
see what's up with it. Yeah. Um, Now, it kind of brings up a question that I've kind of asked. Why is it that when we remake, we instantly think that we have to go in a different direction in terms of a popular character? Like the Elm Street films are the perfect example. Like for some reason, it's like, well, we can't have Robert Englund. But why not? Why can't we just have Robert? Like, why can't he be playing the remake Freddy? But it always just seems like they're always so you know hesitant to recast somebody who was in the original films. Like, I doubt Tim Curry is going to be Pennywise, and Doug Bradley in Hellraiser. I know they was thinking, they was probably thinking recast him as Pinhead. I just don't know why. Like, why can't we just have them back? I think it has to do with maybe they are trying to tonally change things, and they feel like having the same person play it would just be
I
harder to do.
Yeah, I think it's like a new start. I think sometimes when people don't even get asked to return, hence with the Leprechaun movie, Warwick Davis wasn't asked to return and play the Leprechaun. I think
Yeah,
that's a good
that's another
example.
one that I
So
forgot about.
yeah, so he just basically, so they're just kind of going a new direction. They want to, it's like a new start. I mean, as much as we want to see, Pinhead, reprise his role of, in Hellraiser, Doug
Doug
Bradley, I
Bradley,
mean,
yeah.
Jesus, Doug Bradley reprise his role as Pinhead in the Hellraiser films. Maybe that's just not the angle that, that they want to go with. They want a fresh start and stuff. I mean, I wish they would learn from, previous mistakes and stuff. I think that's casting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was so much. I can't remember the guy's name from Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake.
Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah, Jack. I always forget that guy's name. I don't know if it was so much like his performance, or it was more the fact that people just really did not want to see someone else playing Freddy. I
Yeah,
mean, for the movie itself, like I thought the movie was shit, but I mean, who knows? Maybe it's just that it's just not the same and people just don't want it. But I know people are afraid, that they sometimes want change, but at the same time they don't. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
Totally. And it's like when it actually happens, you're like, oh fuck. I mean, that's not Robert Englund. Yeah, of course, but that's not the way that they wanted to go. And we all know, Robert Englund wasn't going to come back and play it anyways, even if he was offered. But to be honest, if they Hellraiser gets remade, um, I can't imagine them, calling Doug Bradley up and being like, "Hey, man, you want to come back and put some fucking pins in your face?"
well,
I just can't see it happening. Like, I think that they would just go with something else.
yeah. You know what? I was thinking that they might kind of like, see, there was so many rumors with that, and there was actually scripts written. Like Todd Farmer and yeah, Todd Farmer wrote a script for the Hellraiser remake. I believe it's actually online. It was supposed to happen. Like Dimension greenlit it. It was gonna happen, but then I think they wanted to do something else first. And the story idea is actually very very interesting. You can look that up yourself online. I forget exactly what it was, but the story what sounded interesting as hell. And it was right after the Final Destination came out. I think it was like the fifth one, and they was like the Weinstein's was like, never mind, we can't do this. We got to make it more like Final Destination, which is totally the fucking Weinstein's like approach at anything they do, which
Yeah.
annoys the hell out of me. It's like we got to make it more like the movie that's making a lot of money. I hate. How about you be the like next trendsetter? You know what I mean? Like, why do you have to copy? Um,
Yeah, that's a huge problem with those,
it's a
those
huge problem with Hollywood in general. Like the whole
exactly.
studio. That's why like the indies are where it's at right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the bigger budget films are just fucking. Let's just keep kind of doing the same bullshit and give me a break, man. That's what I love about indie films, guys like Dustin Mills and stuff. Like, I mean, if you watch his movies,
Fuck,
and
that's what I wanted to watch this week and totally forgot about it.
yeah, yeah, her name was Torment.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, like, but he's a perfect example of somebody that really has a fresh idea every time he puts something out. And that's what I love about indie films and somebody like him. Like, Dustin Mills has like almost 10 movies now, and every movie is
That's
so
pretty
different.
impressive.
It's so different. And, it seems like every time he puts out a movie, like he just put out Her Name is Torment, he's already got a pre order up for his next film.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. This guy's putting so much work. I mean, they are, micro budget films, but they're done really well. And it's the fact that the ideas are not recycled at all. His ideas behind his films are so original.
That's awesome,
There's,
man.
and that's the coolest thing. And with Her Name is Torment, he even admitted though, he said this movie is a very experimental type film. It's not, everybody probably isn't going to like it and stuff. And he was actually getting a lot more positive reviews on it than he was expecting. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. If that's going to be the first movie you watch by him, I think it's going to be an interesting watch for you.
Okay.
But because it's nothing like his other, like
Well,
all his, like I said, you can't even compare any two of his films because they're uncomparable. they're just so different in ideas and stuff. I mean, really, the only thing that you can compare is actors. A lot of the same people do show up in his films, which is not a problem at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, just getting back to, the whole indie thing, he's a perfect example of somebody that is keeping it fresh, and he's just somebody that I really want to see the next film every time. And, I hear the Weinstein brothers, beating around the fucking bush, trying to, do the same shit over and over and over again. Dude, seriously, it's so tiring and boring,
Their issue is just they want to make these films. They want to take like existing franchises and existing films and twist them and make them something that they are not supposed to be. Like a Hellraiser film is not supposed to be like a Final Destination film. It's just not. You're supposed to try to take some way to make that world. It's all about that world, that Hellraiser world that cannot be duplicated in like and morphed into something else. It just can't be. You have to go for this like just crazy. Like it came from freaking Clive Barker's mind, dude. You got to get as close to that as possible. Forget about teenagers and Final Destination. Like teenagers don't belong in a Hellraiser film. Unless it's one teenager like Kirsty. It's a story of adults, and it really is.
Yeah, there's no point in mixing in these, creating something like that. I mean, we might as well, if you want to use that idea, just make fucking Final Destination Part 6.
Yeah, which I'll talk about later.
Yeah, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, man. Like, you don't need to, completely change. I mean, the whole remake thing we've discussed to really the death. We've talked about every angle of remakes and stuff, and I don't know, man. Like I said, coming back to the whole, the change thing, we've discussed this a million times too about Rob Zombie and his remake of Halloween and how the backlash of, him incorporating the backstory was such a bad thing. That's totally up for debate, but the general premise of the film right after that backstory is, kind of the same. It is what it is, right? But his version was obviously a little more hyped up and stuff, but with the violence and shit. But
yeah,
but you know what I'm saying though? Like, I think it really did work, and I think people were just didn't want to see that, and they're like, oh, they don't need that shit. But that's where the old conversation comes back to: do you want to see a full-on remake? Almost shot for shot, and that's the thing, and like. Like I always say, do you want to see a Psycho remake? No. I think the Psycho remake is one of the most pointless movies ever made, and this is the
it really
example.
is. It's the only example of a shot-for-shot remake,
and it's so fucking pointless and stupid. I loathe that movie so much, and everything about
I've
it.
Still never even seen it.
Man, I
just know too much.
Vince Vaughn playing Norman Bates just pissed me off. Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those films again, like just why?
Yeah.
But if you're gonna remake Hellraiser, use the general idea.
Just the idea. That's all you need. Just the concept of dude. It's such an original, like amazing story. The idea. It's like, where do you even come up with this?
That's the cool thing about Hellraiser is that if you do remake this film, you can make it. Like you said, take that premise.
The possibilities are endless.
You can do exactly. There's so many things. Just brainstorm some ideas and come up with something really damn cool.
I picked up the old Hellraiser comic books, the ones from like 1989. I picked up the first 3 issues, I guess they'd be called. Yeah. And I read the first one, and there's just some cool ideas in there that could really work. And man. I don't want to get too into Hellraiser, but man, dude, I am craving a Hellraiser film right now, like a good one, like a new one. I just think that I kind of reopened my eyes to the Hellraiser franchise, and by franchise I mean part 1, 2, and 3, and just the possibilities are so endless with that world, because it is such a amazing and unique place.
I 100% agree. I think there's just so much to, fucking explore with that, man. I think yeah. I mean, if they actually did remake Hellraiser and they made it pretty much identical to the first one, do you think that you would I mean, it's hard to say if you would like it or not, just based on, obviously it wouldn't be the same, right?
Yeah.
But, like if it was identical, do you think that you would enjoy it?
See, I think what they should do is like do a combination of Hellraiser 1 and 2. And what I think they should do is keep the Frank and Julia story because I like it.
Hmm.
But let's travel to hell a little bit more. You know, the whole Leviathan thing, the Leviathan thing in part 2. Let's re-explore that, but in today's time where we have a little bit more money and a little bit more of ability to create these worlds. And I think that would be amazing. I think there's so much to explore in that world of hell, their version of hell, because it's not the hell that we know, like the
Yeah.
Christian hell. It's not the Christian hell, and that's
Yeah.
what I find so interesting about it. Sometimes is it's so different from what you picture as just hell, flames and fire and brimstone and all that shit. That's not it, and that's what I like about it.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. I 100% agree. I would love to explore and just see exactly what you do with that. I think that would just be the perfect example of making a great remake right there.
Yeah. So, after that, news wise, we have the Shining prequel. I guess it was announced, earlier this year, and it's kind of been, stale for a while, and now I guess the guy who directed Gravity, I guess has been offered uh, the directing reins for it's going to be called The Overlooked Hotel, and it's a prequel. It's the story of what happened, before the Torrances show up, which is I think is a way better than a remake, and it just sounds kind of interesting because
But
there's plenty to tell there, right? I mean the whole the two twins and stuff. There's a lot of stories there.
oh, yeah, for sure, but I'm not 100% sold on the choice of director though.
I don't
Like
know
do you,
that guy, so
yeah, I mean, I'm not overly familiar too, but I mean, coming off Gravity, like I don't know. I think there'd be a lot of people that'd be interested in this film. I don't know. Anybody listen out there, throw some feedback on this. Who do you think would be a good choice for,
I like
to
that game.
direct?
I like the game of what director could make a good Hellraiser film, or what
It just
director could make a good Friday film. I like playing that game. It's fun.
I always, kind of go with my gut feeling when I first hear something for the first time, and it just that annoyed me. I was like, the director of Gravity is doing the prequel to The Shining. What? Like, is he gonna fucking, green screen this whole fucking movie? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, dude, that just annoys me sometimes. Like, there's got to be so many people in line for this that would love to direct a prequel to The Shining, or maybe it's
Who
just
would you
kind
give
of
it to, dude?
maybe it's kind of like unforgive or forbidden fucking territory too. It's like, no, you don't fucking direct a prequel to The Shining.
In your
Um,
world, who would you give it to?
uh, Dustin Mills. No, I don't. It's a really good question. I think somebody that's really like a really visual director.
Maybe like the guy who made Fight Club or something.
Yeah, yeah, possibly. I don't know. It's a really good question. I can't really think. I really have to think about this. I don't want to just start spitting
Yeah,
out names, but I think that would actually be one to really think about because I think, The Shining. Like, do you
I
think
would
a
like
lot of
to. I would like to get somebody who could really like. Um, I don't want to say like imitate what um Stanley Kubrick did, but kind of I want it sort of in that tone, I want it to feel similar but not the same. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like not a copy, like an
Yeah,
interpretation maybe.
mhm. Yeah, man, I'm struggling with this one.
Yeah.
Once
We'll
again,
get back to
people's
you on that one.
yeah, that's a hard question.
Yeah. Those are always the questions that you kind of gotta ponder over while you're at work or something. You
Hmm.
just sitting there. I do that all the time at work, and then I'll forget about it by the time I get on the show. After that, we have the. This is kind of in the thriller world, but it is being reported on horror sites. I found this one at Bloody Disgusting. The Devil's Knot. This is a film that comes out DVD Blu-ray June 10th, and I didn't even know this was happening, but I guess it's a film based on the West Memphis Three.
Okay.
Do you know that story?
No.
Oh, really? You don't know the West Memphis Three?
No, it sounds familiar, but just refresh my memory on that.
Um, it was about those three boys who got accused of killing. Uh, 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 they were like teenagers, and they got accused of killing. I can't remember if it was a little boy or a little girl or something, and they were in prison for a long time and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds so familiar.
Yeah,
So familiar.
um, I'm hoping.
I
I'm
want to.
hoping.
I want to say it was they killed a little boy. Didn't they beat him to death?
I,
Isn't that the? Or maybe I'm thinking of something else.
well, I don't think they actually did it though. I think that's the story. I
Okay.
cannot.
Okay.
I might be confusing another story.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's coming out June 10th on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital download.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you know, that's pretty much. I think that's it for the news.
Okay. All right.
Oh
So.
no, actually, there's one more thing that I almost forgot about.
Mhm.
Rotten Cotton actually released a couple new shirts that are going up for pre-order.
Yeah, I
Uh,
got that email today, and I never had a chance to go and check him out. But you said there was a Cannibal Holocaust one.
yeah, so I got the email. It actually was the email that put the last little nail in my phone's battery life, and my phone died while I was looking at the pictures. So yeah, there's two Cannibal Holocaust ones. One of them has like a naked woman with big breasts, with all the cannibals around her. And
Hmm.
the other one is the cannibals. One of them's holding the head, and the girl on the spear. It has her in the background, both of them look pretty goddamn awesome. But I don't know where the hell I'd ever be able to wear them.
Yeah, I know that's the thing, right? Like, I'm getting to the age too where it's kind of hard for me to wear a shirt with like tits on it and stuff.
Yeah,
It's like, I mean, seriously, I don't even know where the hell I'd wear that either. But it's still fucking definitely cool. I would love to have one, but I don't know. Maybe I
yeah.
just have
There's
to.
also one available in kid sizes. I guess I don't know if that's a joke or not.
No way, man.
And it's
I
more
would totally
cartoony
put that on.
looking. It's
I would
cartoony
totally put
looking.
that on my kid. I'd totally put that on my kid. Man, the looks that you would get, that would be
Oh
fucking
man,
amazing.
you would definitely be getting children and youth services called on your ass.
Oh fuck yeah, man. That's so bad.
Um,
That's
they also have there's a bunch of shirts though. There's a Demon Knight shirt that looks all right. I think that's a Super Mario World or Super Mario Brothers shirt.
nice.
There's a Vincent Price shirt that looks pretty cool. A Toxic Avenger shirt, and a couple other ones.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm a big fan of RottenCotton.com. I mean, you must have seen that video I did like a year and a half ago or whatever, and I got like 12 shirts from them.
Back when I
Fuck.
watched all of your videos, I probably did see it.
Yeah, I mean, I like their designs, man. Like, I mean, they're not as crazy as um, what's the other one?
Fright Rags.
Fright Rags. Wow, I just like totally phew, lost that one for a second. Yeah, Fright Rags. Fright Rags has like amazing shirts. I will agree. Like they're awesome, but at the same time, I think Rotten Cotton is a
Well,
little cheaper, and
after this,
I do like the simplicity of some of the shirts though too. Like they're
yeah,
just kind of basic. So
but I'm gonna be
yeah,
honest. After this batch, it seems like they really stepped their game up. These look like Fright Rag esque shirts
oh
because
really?
I've cycled through a lot of Rotten Cotton's inventory, and a lot of them are pretty basic black and white style shirts. These ones,
Yeah,
especially the Cannibal Holocaust ones, are really top notch shirts.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that
Awesome.
wraps it up for the news, guys.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll get into some releases for next week. And man, um, doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot, but there
It's a
is a couple.
slow week in horror this week, man.
Yeah, it's really weird. But of course, there is two major releases coming out next week. Well, I mean, major to me and anyone else that is a huge supporter of Scream Factory.
Speaking of
Uh,
Scream Factory, I did get my sleepaway camp in the mail with the poster. I was pretty psyched. And it came like 4 days early.
yeah, fuck, man, I usually would be getting mine tomorrow. My shit hasn't even shipped from Amazon yet, so I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I
Probably
really
Wednesday.
wish I would have jumped on some more of those posters when they were coming out. I have the Halloween 3 one, the Phantasm one, and the Sleepaway Camp one. I know you can't get them up there in Canada, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But I really, really like the Ginger Snaps one, and I want the Pumpkinhead one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, there's definitely some really cool ones. But yeah, so of course, Sleepaway Camp coming out this Tuesday, Scream Factory. Everybody run out, buy 2 copies, maybe 3. Support Scream Factory. Fucking, I mean, what can we say? More on Sleepaway Camp later. The other Scream Factory release, which is actually kind of a unique Scream Factory release. It's called House in the Alley. I don't really know much about the film.
That's the one that's only on DVD, correct?
This is their very first release that's only on DVD and not Blu-ray. Besides like the 4-packs and stuff.
Yeah.
And the TV tears, but like a solo movie release that's just on DVD. So it's their very first one. Yeah, I'll have these.
Do you know the
Tuesday.
Reasoning behind that?
I actually don't know. I
actually do know the reasoning. I believe they said financially it just wasn't they just couldn't do it on this one. They didn't predict a huge return on it, so they just decided to keep it pretty basic on this one. Mm-hmm. I believe that was the reasoning.
I have a sneaky suspicion that it's probably not going to be a big seller. I don't think like anyone's ever even mentioned it before. So
yeah,
but who knows? I mean, if like I said, there's a lot of Scream Factory collectors out there, and who knows, that might pick it up. But hopefully it does do well. I mean, I'm still to this day really bummed out about the TV tears.
Oh, I know. And when I told you it didn't sell, the look on your face was just pure disappointment.
Oh, I was so mad because I really enjoyed both those movies.
And you even had a feeling. I remember you even telling me like I have a feeling nobody's picking this thing up. And then when I heard them confirm that it wasn't a huge seller at all, it was actually quite a disappointment.
Yeah, well, like the thing is though, like I watched a lot of people's videos that collect Scream Factories and stuff, and nobody was grabbing that TV tears, and I was like, oh, this isn't good.
I can't talk because I still don't own it. And so you can probably solely blame me on you never getting a TV Terrace Volume 2. I think my sell would have pushed it over.
Nice. Okay, so of course we've got another Danny Trejo film coming out this week called Ghostquake.
Is there a Danny Trejo film coming out every week? Because it feels like it sometimes.
There's usually like 5. I swear, ever since he got a starring role in Machete, we all know Danny Trejo was like in a million movies before, but always little minor parts. But
he's in Maniac Cop 2 in the back.
Yeah, he's in tons of films, and ever since he got that starring role in Machete, he's been getting a lot of like independent roles and like just constantly. It's out of control how much that guy works.
I was in the Red Box and I seen that there was a film called Badass 2, Badasses. F.
I know. I actually saw that the other day too, and I was like, I actually remember when it got announced that they're making a sequel. I think they announced it like right after the other one came out, but I was like, oh my god, that story was the first one was based on a YouTube video of an old guy like beating the shit out of a little punk fucking with him. That is absolutely hilarious. I did not know that.
Yeah, there was a video of an old guy on the bus. I think that was the thing. And this dude was just messing with him, and the old guy just got like, just leave me alone. And he finally got pissed off and stood up and like I don't know if he knocked him out, but he pretty much whooped his ass.
Nice. All right, so I have to talk about this one. There's another film coming out. Apparently, it was out in 2013, getting released on DVD this year, called Independence Disaster.
That sounds pretty awful, dude.
Oh, dude, the cover it's like basically a mashup of Independence Day and Fright Night.
What?
Yeah, dude, it's got like this face kind of in like this alien light. You can tell there's a face on the cover, and it's right over the White House. It's ridiculous, man. It just looks so bad. It's probably a sci-fi type film or whatever, but yeah, if anyone's interested, Independence Disaster. Fuck's sakes. I'm trying to hold it back, but that's bad. Next up, we got Dan Curtis's Dracula, starring Jack Palance, is coming to Blu-ray, which is pretty funny. I've actually never seen that movie. I've always wanted to check it out. I heard it's pretty good, actually. We got a movie called The Evil Within. Um, I remember
That sounds
actually.
familiar.
Yeah, it does. I For some reason I thought this movie was already out. Maybe it is out. I don't know. Maybe it's just on here, but who knows? And then we have a film called 24 Exposures from IFC Midnight. So
See, I remember seeing the trailer to that one. I thought it looked really interesting, but I want to say maybe it was Jeremy who said that it wasn't.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it seems like IFC is just pumping out a shit ton of films. Like
Yeah,
they're getting the rights to a lot of movies. They're putting them out on their
I
label
like
because
the type of films they get. It always seems to like fit like them. Like
it does. It really does actually. Like I mean, I give Jeremy props for collecting IFC Midnights because it's a pretty cool label to collect, man. There's a pretty wide range of films and stuff, but a lot of good like independent stuff.
yeah,
You know,
I
so
definitely want to beef up my IFC Midnight collection.
yeah, I would love to do it too. Actually, I mean, I have quite a few, and the funny thing is, like, there's a lot of movies that I own that are released in the U.S. on the IFC label, but they're released on a different label up in Canada. They're released on this label called I think it's like MO Pictures. It's like maybe like a sub label for maybe rights issues or something. But we get like Antiviral. My copy of Antiviral is not an IFC. Maniac is not an IFC release.
I actually have a copy of Silent House that has the stupid French thing on it.
Yeah, the bilingual. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know that always drives me nuts too. But yeah. So, anyways, that is going to do it for the releases that I know of. So,
Yeah, there's actually one other release that's not hitting DVD, but it is hitting VOD, and I just thought I would give it a shout out because I want these type of things to be supported because let's face it, like it's a good thing to do. It keeps the horror community alive. Stuff like this is cool stuff, and the people over at Shock Till You Drop, it started kind of like their Bloody Disgusting Selects label, but it's not like a straight up label. It's like kind of co-productions and stuff. I guess from what I understand, but they have a cool little feature length like countdown type retrospective called the 50 best horror movies you've never seen. Now, these are not films that maybe we haven't seen because we're such big horror fans, but like definitely the mainstream audiences would probably have not seen any of these stuff like Prophecy, the film that I had as a pick of the week. That's on there. Stuff that like Basket Case. I mean, it's stuff that we've seen, but that's not the fun thing about. It's not just finding movies that you never seen. It's talking about them. It's showing these films giving them props, talking about what's awesome about them, and it looks pretty fun.
Yeah, it's bringing it. It's showing other people some films that they've. I mean, there's obviously some people that are going to check this out and probably haven't seen half the films on there.
Yeah,
So
there's guaranteed a couple that I haven't seen on there.
Yeah, I would actually like to see this list because I love lists. I mean, obviously we
They're
love
fun.
lists.
They just are so fun to check out. Let's talk about them. Let's count down these movies. Let's talk about them. They get people like Rob G from who did this Psycho Legacy. They got Ryan Turek from Shock T Drop. I believe Linnea Quigley. There's a whole list of from actors and journalists who are kind of talking about it. It's kind of low budget-ish looking, but there's clips from the movies and stuff. It's fun. I highly recommend everybody give it a shot. I'm gonna check it out. I want to wait for the DVD, but I might just support the VOD so it gets a DVD release. It comes out on I want to say 2 days from now, so this Tuesday. Yeah,
which I believe is the 27th. So, yeah, I'm really curious, to see what's on that list. I mean, like I said, I'm a huge fan of lists, so I mean, it'd just be curious to, out of 50 films, how many have I seen? I mean, chances are
probably all of them. I've probably seen half of them, but
yeah,
it's something that I like to see. A couple weeks ago, I did my pick of the week as that Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments, and it's very similar to this is kind of a similar list type, film type thing. And that Bravo thing is just amazing. This one probably isn't as good, but we should support it, I think. So, guys, if you haven't heard about it, which I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, actually, I've heard nobody talk about it except for me. So, maybe drop a couple bucks on the VOD and check it out.
Yeah, I think this is like a perfect thing to throw on. You know, you got a bunch of people over drinking some beers. You guys are bullshitting. You most definitely don't want to like throw in a movie because you're not going to pay attention to it. But you throw in like this 50, best horror films you've never seen countdown, and just
Good
start
point,
discussing
dude.
shit.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
And this is something good for a VOD too, because it's not something that you need to like own. It's just something that you want to see.
mhm,
It's like a one shot type thing. You're probably not going to revisit it.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I'll probably check it out.
Yeah, super cool. All right, so I guess it's probably that time that we get into the last week's question of the week, which was your top 5 horror film titles or names of films. I was really anticipating the answers on this because there's just so many funny ass titles out there.
Yeah, it seems like there was two camps. There was the ones that just sounded cool, and then there was the ones that sounded funny.
Yeah, exactly right. So you could have went either way. I didn't really care how you answer this question. If you wanted to pick like your honest to God favorite movie titles or the ones that sounded funny or just make a mixture, whatever, didn't matter to me. But anyways, we'll start here with movie buff Mike. His top 5 list was number 5, The Evil Dead. I mean, it's really just a classic title. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool. Number 4, Brain Dead. Number 3, Zombie Flesh Eaters, which I've always really enjoyed too.
yeah,
Um,
I like that title.
I actually prefer it over just Zombie, but I think Zombie Flesh Eaters it's perfect. It's perfect. Number 2 is just Pieces, and number 1 he's got Godzilla, or Mothra and King Ghidorah and giant monsters all out attack. Yeah, he's saying basically what he's saying is that anything Godzilla kicks ass.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. Then we got Jeffy D, which I always love this guy's name. Jeffy D. It just sounds like an MC. Jeffy D.
Yeah,
I love it. Okay.
Jeffy D and the crew.
Yeah, Jeffy D and the crew. Number 5, Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bolorama. That cracked me up because that's a film from 1988 and that hasn't come up on my 88 series yet. Such a funny.
Is Linnea in that one?
She is in that movie, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen this though.
Number 4 is $5 for an August Moon, which is a Mario Bava film. Number 3 is Lizard in a Woman's Skin, which is a really kind of different Lucio Fulci film. It's a giallo, but it's like kind of like psychedelic giallo in a way. It's really weird. Good film. Number 2, Legend of the 7 Golden Vampires. I couldn't help
Is
but
that
laugh.
Hammer?
I'm assuming that it probably is. Honest to God, have not seen this movie. I don't even think I've ever heard of it, but that title just
I want to
cracked
say
me
that it's
up.
Hammer.
It quite possibly
Somebody
is.
answer that. If it's Hammer, let us know. I'm curious.
And number 1 is actually one that I had compiled a huge list for this, and I actually put this on my list originally. Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Great title.
Yeah.
Awesome title.
Also there was speaking of a little honorable mention right now before I forget, Children of the Corn. I've always really liked that title.
That is a cool title. Yeah. And then we got Lost Witch Adrian. Man, I can't talk. So he basically kind of split this up: top 5 horror / giallo titles. Number 5, House by the Edge of the Park. Yeah, it's a good title. The film, David Hess just playing basically the same character that he played in Last House on the Left, and he's just such a fucking miserable asshole in that fucking movie. Oh, yeah. Good film, though. Number 4, Black Belly the Tarantula.
That's a good title.
It is, man. And you know what's funny? My buddy Dylan that posts like on our group page and stuff, he's the guy that house sits my place, and I went out of town one time and he's like, hey man, what movie should I watch? And I said, you know what? I said, he's like, he was actually wanting to get more introduced with giallos and stuff, right? I said, go down to my Blue Underground collection, and there's a lot of giallos in there. And he actually picked out Black Belly the Tarantula to watch just based on the name alone to watch it. He's like, that title's fucking awesome. And he loved the movie. It actually really is a good movie. And, but yeah, it's just kind of cool how it caught his attention too. But anyways, Number 3, I Spit on Your Grave. I've always loved that title. I think it's fantastic. This one surprised me, but this is one of the longest titles, man. Forbidden Shadows of a Lady Above Suspicion.
Jesus.
Very interesting giallo titles sometimes. Oh, they're just so awesome.
Yeah, they really went all out on making cool titles.
Oh, that the coolest thing. Sometimes, man, some of the titles in giallos don't even make sense to the film.
Yeah, it's usually like an animal and like something that it doesn't belong with.
Yeah. Number 1, Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. Now that is a fucking long title. I've never seen that. I've never seen that film. So
it is a cool title. It's more like a damn poem.
It really is. It really is, actually. All right, so from Dawn's Bombs, number 5. This is another title that I had on my original list, but Slaughter Vomit Dolls at number 5. How can you go wrong with that title? It's so memorable.
I absolutely hate the word vomit, so I don't like that title.
Slaughter Vomit Dolls. It just sounds putrid, man. But number 4 is Zombie Strippers. Number 3, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I never even thought of that title when I was doing my funny shit. Like, that's a good one though, because Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Like, how goofy is that?
Yeah, I still need to grab that.
It's so good. Number 2, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Fucking love that, man. It's just so good. And number 1, The Stuff. Very simple.
Simple.
You and Your Horror Movies. Number 5, Kingdom of the Spiders.
Good one.
I got to pick that movie up. I actually don't own that.
I don't own that either. And I've seen it when I was a kid, and I've been wanting to revisit it. It's one of those that I wanted to revisit for a long time.
I haven't seen it forever. Number 4, I bought a vampire motorcycle. That's so good. Number 3, There's Nothing Out There, and I know that's a Troma film that you've seen before.
Yeah. I always get it. I always say there's something out there. Something. I always get it like confused.
Yeah. Number 2, Leviathan. Interesting. And number 1, Fiend Without a Face, which I believe was actually released by Criterion. Released that movie, which is pretty cool. Critter Buster. Top 5 horror titles. Number 5, Pumpkinhead.
Solid. It is a solid, simple title, man.
Yeah, very cool. Number 4, Psycho Cop. Fuck. I gotta get myself a copy of Psycho Cop. I think the only
is there more than one Psycho Cop?
I believe that there might be 3, but I know there's 2 for sure. We don't have any Region 1 releases of them though. I think
there like a Samurai Cop too? Man, I want to do a show on cops.
Yeah, Maniac Cop, Samurai Cop, Psycho Cop. Yeah, man. Scanner Cop, yeah, which I think are like kind of spin-offs of Scanners.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like the unofficial sequels, spin-offs.
Yeah, Psycho Cop is absolutely fucking hilarious, man. It's such a low budget, like it's a cheesy 80s. Oh man. Oh man. But yeah, you can only get it, I think, in Australia. I think has a release for it. It's the only place I've been able to find it. But number 3, Phantasm. Fantastic choice.
PH.
Yep. Number 2, Slaughter High. And number 1, Chud. Very interesting list.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
Yep.
There's a song. I remember a song where somebody like actually rapped out like cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. And I was like, did they seriously just say that?
That's pretty awesome. All right, so moving along to my man Dubby Doubles. Top 5 horror titles. Number 5, Gourmet Zombie Chef from Hell. And this was actually one that I had on my, big list that I compiled too.
Ooh.
It doesn't have a fucking doesn't have a DVD release, like an official DVD release, so it's kind of frustrating, but low budget shit from the 80s, man. Pretty awesome. Number 4, At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul.
That's a great title.
Yeah, man, that is a fucking awesome title. And it's a cool movie too, man.
I've never seen it.
Number 3, From Beyond. Number 2, The Hills Have Eyes. And
that's a great title also.
The Hills Have Eyes is always a movie that I remember as a child. It's the cover, see Michael Berryman's, fucking weird face on there.
Yeah.
I just always remember seeing that in the video store. and I'd rent it, and oh fuck, man, just something about that.
The
Hills Have
Hills
Eyes,
Have
great
Eyes
title.
is such a great movie.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there that prefer the remake over
I
Wes
used to
Craven.
until recently when I went back and watched it on, I believe it was for Body Bags, and I was like, you know what, man, that movie is really, really good.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the first one too, or the original. And W's number one is Night of the Living Dead.
That is it's kind of overlooked almost because it's kind of a title that like there's so many of the Living Deads that you kind of forget that like that was a pretty original title at one point.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I agree. Austin's Spooky Rotten Fun. His number five is Della Morte Delamore, also known as Cemetery Man.
Yeah,
Number four, Cannibal Holocaust, which
that's
is
a good one.
it is good, man. Number three, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm actually quite surprised that didn't get brought up
Yeah, it's a
before.
great title.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think, I mean, as far as I know, is it? It's got to be one of the first films ever with massacre in the title, right?
Probably.
It's interesting because I mean, there's a million
I
movies
wonder if
now
it's
with
one of the
massacre in the
first
title.
ones with chainsaw in the title also.
Yeah. Number two, Simply Demons. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And number one, The Exorcist. Alrighty, so, and then last one coming up here, guys, from my boy Zach, Movie Collector 666. Number six, of course, with his top six list. Number six, Ginger Dead Man 2, subtitled The Passion of the Crust.
Some Full Moon
Seriously.
Love. I've still not seen the Ginger Dead Man films, man. I really got to
Fuck.
pick those up.
They're so fucking funny, dude. And I really like Ginger Dead Man Part 3. The subtitle on that one. Saturday Night Cleaver is
Yeah.
so fucking funny, dude. Number five, Just Before Dawn. It actually is a cool title. It's
Yeah.
cool. Number four, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. That's a cool title too. I like this choice, man. Number three, I Drink Your Blood. Fuck, man.
I Eat Your Skin.
Man, I Drink Your Blood. Every time I watch that movie, I always have to say this. It fucking makes me gag so bad. It
I've
makes
never
me
seen
gag. Ugh, when they're eating those meat pies full of, oh fuck, it's disgusting. Makes me gag. Number two, Don't Go in the House, which I know
Don't.
that Don't Go in the House. I know Zach actually bought that movie on a recommendation from me. Watched my review on it. Very interesting film. And number one, this is cool. Strip Nude for Your Killer. Very, very sleazy giallo. That movie has so much tits and muff in it.
Well,
ridiculous.
they better
Every scene.
for a title like that.
Oh man, I was expecting a lot of nudity the first time I watched that film, but I was just like, wow, this movie is nonstop. It's pretty good. So yeah, JP, you want to get into?
Well, we got one more email, of course.
Oh, emails, yes.
Yeah, Martin. He has Tetsuo.
Oh yeah, cool.
Oh wait. Tetsuo. He said I have to say it in an angry Japanese voice. I didn't even notice he said that until after I did it. Number four is Dao M for Murder.
Oh, nice.
Number three is I Saw the Devil. Number two is Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. That's a popular one. And number one is Delamorte Delamore.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so you want to get into your list there?
Yeah, okay. At number five, now, mind you, these are my top five titles. Like, there's some of these films I haven't even seen. So, it's just something that is, sticks in my head, something that kind of rolls off the tongue, something that just sounds cool. It's a combination of all those. Number five is Mermaid in a Manhole. I've always just really, really liked that title. It's just so out there.
It is totally out there. It's a great title, though.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie, by the way.
Neither, but.
Number four is August Underground. Did anybody have that?
Actually, nobody did.
I think that is one of the most brilliant titles ever just because how it sounds. It just sounds so awesome. I don't know what it means, but it just sounds awesome. I've actually seen the first August Underground. Number three is Delamorte Delamore. This has always been a title that I loved, and I've still never seen Cemetery Man. It's just a title that always sounded so cool to me. I actually, quick little story. I don't see, how I never really meet people who like horror outside of, YouTube. I always talk about that, how like I just don't know anybody. I was at a party once and somebody had a Delamorte shirt on, and I was like, holy shit, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Random.
And then number two is I Spit on Your Grave. It's just I Spit on Your Grave. That's pretty fucked up, That's a
It's classic
title.
though, man.
Yeah.
I to be honest, I think it is one of the like actual best titles for a film.
Yeah, I mean,
Perfect.
this is a combination of ones that I think that are just genuinely good titles and ones that I like, and that's more on the camp of it. It just is an amazing title. And then I think this is the best title ever, and it is The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Nice.
I've still never seen the movie. I do own it on Scream Factory, but
I would actually like to hear your thoughts on that one once you pick up that Scream Factory release.
I have the release.
Oh shit, that's right, you do. I knew that. You just haven't watched it yet.
Yep.
Alrighty, so I compiled like a massive list, and then I obviously broke it down to just 5. Okay. Just to 5 this week. I actually had 6. And I have a little space in between the last one, so it's not part of my top 5.
It's still cheating if you say it.
No, I might just give an honorable mention. I just have to say it because it's so fucking funny.
All right,
okay, so number 5, Stuff Stephanie in the Incinerator. Oh, fuck, dude.
I'm surprised nobody had the Entrails of a Virgin or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's good, too. But, like, the cover art for Stuff Stephanie in the Incinerator is the funniest shit because of course she's bending over and it's just we all know what that's insinuating, but it's just so fucking funny. Great title. Number 4, now this was like honest to God, I've always loved this title, and it's Chopping Mall.
Yeah, Chopping Mall is a great movie too.
Yeah, it's an awesome fucking movie, great title, everything. It's one I've always loved too. I know this has an alternate title also, but I think this is what it was released over here as, and that's Let Sleeping Corpses Lie.
That's a great one.
Yeah, I think the title is just so memorable. Number 2 is Microwave Massacre. Because it just makes me laugh. It's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
And no, we're not talking about the ending of Last House on the Left.
Yeah, exactly. And my number 1 is Video Violence. I think the title is just so perfect. And it's just, I just love it. I love the whole, I just love the movie so much because it's, it's about video violence. It's just so perfect. VHS
and let's be honest here, there are
video.
Hundreds of good titles that could have made these lists. These, I think, are the most, this is the list that's probably the most, like, personal, out of every list that we've done so far.
Yeah.
It's just so personal.
And this one, you could basically make like a bunch of different lists. Like it's really hard. Like, this may not be my.
It was
top
just
5.
fun to kind of talk about the cool titles out there.
Exactly. Oh yeah, my honorable mention was Ant Farm Dickhole.
Are you serious?
by Bill Sabub. You gotta admit though that is one out there fucking title, man.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, it just has to be mentioned. But actually, Bill Sabub's got some pretty interesting titles on his films, but. And Farm Dickhole, that one takes the cake for me. Alrighty, so I guess you guys have all been waiting for next week's question. It is pretty much going to be pertaining to this, this week's, main review. Kind of where I got the idea from, and it's going to be your top 5 rated PG-13 horror films. I know this is going to make people laugh, but I'm curious because there is quite a few out there.
There's some good ones, dude.
And I'm talking PG-13. And when I state PG-13, it's about when the rating board actually changed the rating system. I think it was like in the early 80s because, back in the 70s, you'll see a lot of films that are rated PG, which would probably be rated PG-13 back in those days. But they didn't change. They never had the PG-13 rating until I believe... I want to say it was like the early 80s. 80. Somebody has to correct me on this. It's like 82 or 83.
I think it was around Poltergeist.
It was exactly what I was thinking. It was around Poltergeist. But anyways, PG-13 titles. So basically kind of post that time because there was no PG-13 before that. So I am curious because there's quite a few out there. If you want to throw in some, PG titles, that's fine. I have no problem with that at all. But just have fun with it. Kind of dig in the vaults for PG-13. I know it's not everyone's favorite thing even to talk about. Every time you kind of hear about a PG-13 film, you're like, fuck, that thing is PG-13.
There are some good ones out there, though.
There actually is, and that's the thing. Like, I did a little bit of research. Like, I was kind of going through the collection and looking online and stuff, and I was like, you know what? I think people might have a lot of choices here. So,
you want to know another title by Bill Zabub?
Which one?
The worst horror movie ever made.
That's right. Totally. Yeah. Yeah, he's got shit all over the fucking place, man. All over the place. Alrighty. So, yeah, next week's question, top 5 rated PG-13 films. Yeah, have fun with that one.
Alrighty.
So, JP, you wanted to talk about the Final Destination films?
Yeah, so last week, I wanted to bring it up last week, but the show was just like way too long and we was at like 3 in the morning. So there was a little article written over on Shock to Drop by Ryan Turek, and it was basically saying like, I think we're about due for another Final Destination film. And I kind of just wanted to briefly talk about the series because I actually love the Final Destination films. They're one of my favorite. It's probably one of my favorite series that I totally forgot to do. Like, did we do a No, we didn't do a top 5 franchises, did we? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's one that like just barely missed a cut because these films aren't. The first one was very unique, but after that they're kind of the same. But it's kind of like the Friday the 13th series where they're kind of the same, but they're just fun. The Final Destination films to me are really, really fun. You go there to see the deaths. That's what you're doing.
To be honest, man, I was always really stoked, to see that major, major disaster scene in the Final Destination films. You know how they always have that major disaster?
Yeah, it's so fun. It's actually quite intense sometimes, too. It's like you can actually, before it happens and you see the wind and, all the different signs, it's kind of like, oh, shit.
Okay, so out of the 5 films, I guess it's kind of like the premonition scene, basically, is what it is in every film, right?
Yeah, it's like I think it's called like the major disaster is what it's kind of.
Yeah, so it's like a premonition scene, anyways. Yeah. But so what is your favorite one out of the 5 films?
It has to be part 2, the highway scene, dude.
Hands motherfucking down. I totally 100% agree.
When I seen that log come off the damn car and smash off the truck and smash through that cop car, and then the guy burning alive with his like jacket stuck in the door or whatever, I was like, my god, it's just so brutal, man. I love that scene. I can watch Final Destination 2. That scene over and over again, and the deaths are just so fun. There are always these like crazy like Rube Goldberg machines, just like all kind of craziness happening. They're a lot of fun. Like Final Destination 1 and 2 are fantastic movies. Part 3 actually has grown on me quite a bit. Part 4 I really don't like, but Part 5 is also really, really good.
Yeah. Speaking of Part 3, man, like the whole roller coaster, death scene in that is fucking brutal.
Yeah,
and like
I think that one could have been done a little better because it's such a scary thing and it's something we all think about. We all think about that as the roller coaster's going up the hill.
Every single time I get on a roller coaster, I think of that movie.
Yeah, I think that's the one that really plays with my personal fears the most. The flying one, not so much. The bridge one, not so much. But that roller coaster, it's really the perfect one for that.
Yeah, man. Like I'm terrified of heights, right? And like roller coasters really plays into that. I remember one time I was at Wonder World in Toronto, and I was climbing up the Behemoth, which is like the 4th or 5th fastest roller coaster in the world. Anyways, it's like a 300-foot climb to the point where you start going. And like I'm fucking pantsing the shit out, right? Like I'm losing my shit. I can't look down. Like I'm fucking losing it. And all I can think about is Final Destination fucking 3 the whole fucking time. And it's making me paranoid. Like I'm actually kind of freaking out a little bit. I'm like, because I hate heights, right? And oh, dude, that movie just had such a crazy impact because I mean, I'm probably not the only person that thinks about that when they jump on a roller coaster, like Final Destination 3.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, every time I get on a roller coaster, I think about it now. And even before Final Destination 3, I thought about it. But
Yeah.
now it's even more present when I'm on there. And, you know, I just think that these films are, you can make them forever. Like, you can never run out. Like, I would like to see a train, maybe. I started thinking before, we started talking about this, what would a good, big disaster be? And a train is a cool one. A building collapsing, maybe. I don't like a skyscraper or something.
Hmm.
There's plenty of room to use your imagination, and I just imagine that these people making these films are having the greatest time ever, like coming up with these deaths. Like, oh, how about we have a guy getting the puncture things in a massage parlor or whatever. It's just there's so many cool ideas there that I would just love to see more of these. Tony Todd in the fifth one came back and did a great job in there. I really liked the fifth one. I loved how it ended. Man, these films are just I kind of forgot about them. Like, I forgot that there wasn't a new Final Destination movie, and I read that article, and I think they were coming out every 2 to 3 years, and
Hmm.
so we're kind of like due for one. And I know after because the last one did really well. They all have done really well in the theater. They've all made money. I
Hmm.
think it's definitely time for another Final Destination movie.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. I really do agree about part five. Like part four, you said you weren't a big fan. I thought it was a stinker too. Like it was just kind of,
Bad effects, just it.
it was, man. Like the end of part four was so poorly fucking done, man. It was awful.
Yeah,
And then I remember when Final Destination 5 got announced, and I was like, oh fuck, here we go. I mean,
yeah, and then
we got we
I
got
seen the
three good
trailer.
films.
I seen the
Yeah.
trailer and it was like, and it threw a new little twist on it. It's like, all right, now what if the person kills the other person? Then it's a whole nother level
Yeah, and I
of
I think it
the
was I
game.
think it was executed perfectly because they did
Mhm.
need to change something up, but they didn't change it so drastically that people were like, "Oh, it's not even a Final Destination film." They just kind of put a little spin on it, and it really does work. And that's what was so great about the film. I remember finishing up that film for the first time and being like, "Yeah, man, they kind of resurrected that. They
It's,
really definitely, filled the fucking void
they
from
all
part
do
four."
really well at having this eerie feel to them.
Hmm.
Like when you know something's about to happen, it's just a really cool idea. The Grim Reaper, death is the killer. The second film, how they tie it to the first one, where like all the people, death is looping back around to get the people that it's like the first person like caused this huge chain reaction of death having to play catch up. It's such a cool concept, and the first one was really impressive with that. Like
Hmm.
it was something totally new, and that's why it was so successful. But now they're just fun. They're not so much serious anymore, in terms
Yeah,
of storytelling,
yeah,
but
they're
they're
definitely
fun as
nothing.
hell.
Yeah, it's a great point that you kind of compared it to the Friday the 13th series. Most of the films, I mean, some of the middle ones are pretty much,
The
you
same
know
shit over and over again.
it
Slightly
really
different.
is. It's slightly different, exactly, and that's kind of what they're doing with the Final Destination. But I really do like how they kind of put that minor twist in part five, and it really does work. And I'm really curious to see what they do for part six. Like, I mean, honestly, when they announce it, it's going to be like, what's a disaster going to be? Is it going
Yeah,
to be a train wreck? Is it going to be a building? Is it going to be a construction accident? Is it going to be
yeah,
fucking,
that's a good one. Like
you know,
girders and shit.
well, the construction one, I thought of this before because there's a lot of shit going on in a construction site with cranes and people. Like you can have a major chain reaction like you would on a
Yeah.
highway.
Mhm.
Like a highway scene was perfect. Obviously, that was probably
And,
the easiest one they could ever come up with, but
but
the most
honestly,
effective.
the highway one doesn't even seem what I would go to next. Like I would have
Hmm.
thought maybe roller coaster, or the
Hmm.
highway scene was kind of, I wasn't, it's not I don't think it's the obvious one, and I like that about it.
Hmm. Yeah, but yeah, I always thought the one. I think it's in part two, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes the deaths
Hmm.
kind of mold together from the films, but I think it's a part two, the one where the young boy he dies underneath the pane of glass.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
part two.
okay?
And
Fuck,
then
dude, that death
I
always disturbed me. Man. I was like, damn, that's a shitty way to die.
yeah,
You're just minding your own business, all of a sudden this fucking pane of glass takes you out. You're like, that's not cool.
and then you have the guy who's in his apartment, and everything just keeps going wrong. He gets his hand stuck in the thing. The microwave catches fire. Man, these films are just. I totally forgot that there hasn't been any word on a Final Destination 6. I do think they did announce one right after the fifth one, and I don't know what happened to it. I would love to see another one.
Yeah, I swear that they announced that possibly there was going to, I don't know. I can't even remember. It's been a while. Like Final Destination 5 came out what, 3 years ago now?
I think 2011.
So, in years, so basically 3 years ago. Well, that's kind of disheartening though, because if they haven't actually officially announced part 6, who knows when it's actually going to come out, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm,
and
I'm
these films are, or if you are going to make a 3D film, these are the kind of films you probably want to go with. I know two of them were in 3D. Um, I wouldn't mind seeing another one in 3D. I know you don't like 3D, but um, they're fun, man. I don't know what else to say besides I love these films. I want to see another one. I forgot how much I love them, and I own all five of them. And I'll
mhm.
probably do a little marathon sooner or later because I want to watch them again.
It's funny. It's definitely a franchise that I don't really revisit a whole lot, but talking about it right now is like I really do enjoy the films.
Did it kind of
Like
open your eyes, like how much you actually like them? Because at first I didn't realize how much I liked them.
mhm. Yeah, I think so. I think, to be honest, like, I mean, they're mainstream horror films, but they're fun. And I think that's what it comes down to. They're enjoyable to watch, and they're just whatever.
Yeah.
It's I could totally. I just actually want to see that glass death right now. It's so brutal. Uh yeah. But I don't know. Let's get the ball rolling on part 6 though. Come on. Let's get
Yeah.
that shit going. Alrighty, so um continuing along here with Mood Swings. So I guess you wanted me to talk about how I constructed my top 30 list.
Yeah, because we was talking a little bit about lists, and you know that I've been struggling for a long time with my
Mhm.
top 100. It's
Yep.
it's taking a bit more shape, but I keep worrying that I'm forgetting films that I don't own because it's easy to do that if you don't own them. And I'm trying to really take my time and make sure because when I do this list, when I do this video, I don't want to be like, holy shit, how did I forget about that film?
Mhm. Yeah, so basically what I did with my top 30 list is I just kind of threw everything out the window, and I simplified it as easy as I could possibly do it for myself. And what I mean by that is I basically just kind of thought of the films that are quite literally my favorite films. It didn't matter. It was basically the films that I go to the absolute much, like my all-time favorite films, and that's all I did. I didn't worry about sequels or where they came from or any other reasons. It was literally the films that I watch the most and that mean the most to me. That was basically what it was.
Okay, so now what I'm doing is at first I was kind of like, oh, well, I already have a Nightmare on Elm Street film
Mhm.
here, so maybe I should space them apart. But I finally like got it through my head, like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm truly gonna rank them how I like them, no matter if it should look this way on a typical list. It doesn't matter. I just want to put them how they
Yeah.
are as my favorites. But also, I'm not necessarily doing it in the terms of like which ones I revisit the most because there's certain films on there that I've only seen one time, but that experience is one of my favorite experiences. So therefore, it makes the
Mhm.
film one of my favorite films.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways of doing it. It's so. I basically did it, on the films that I just love so much. I mean, that's the reason why like Killer Clowns from Outer Space made it into my list, and I think it surprised a lot of people. But when I really thought about how I was going to do this, I didn't want any certain type of structure. Like, if I liked, say four Nightmare on Elm Street films that much, they would have been in my top 30.
Yeah, and that's how I want to do it because when I was first doing it, I was seeing like a lot of Friday the 13th sequels, and I'm like, well, maybe this is too much and stuff. But then I was like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna do it this way because those truly are the way I would rank them. And when I finally get my list done, it's gonna definitely echo a lot of the films that I grew up with, and a lot of them are sequels. They're the ones that I gravitated to the most growing up.
totally. Yeah, and I just it
Would
was
you ever
really
think about expanding that list? Maybe doing like the next 30 or whatever?
I actually already thought of that, to be honest. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to start with. I wanted to, make a smaller list because I thought it was going to be a little easier to do. I know that does sound weird, but if you start, like for me, if I started with 100, I know I would have had to basically cut out 200 or 300 films. I would have had a list of 300 movies, and I would have had to cut it down to 100. This way, I compiled my 30, and as easy as I made it sound, it did take a long time to tweak this list, and it actually took me like 3 months. I had this list, done, but then I tweaked it over like 2 or 3 months. That's why the video just came out. I know it sounds
Yeah.
so excessive for a YouTube video and stuff, but the thing was, it meant a lot to me, and I
It
really
was a
wanted to
great
be.
list, dude. It was a
And,
lot of fun to watch. You can tell it was very personal and it was very, real.
and that's the thing, and that truly was the list, and I was very happy with it, and that's just all I wanted out of it. I just wanted it to be, what it turned into being. Just the films, my films that I love the most, and I think that's what everyone's list should be. And of course, you always get those fucking assholes that are like, "Hey, where's The Burning? Where's Hellraiser?" And
I am one of those assholes.
but and I'm just like, well, they're on your list. That's where
Yeah,
the fuck they are.
yeah, but mostly when I do it, I'm just, busting your balls a bit.
Oh, totally. 100%.
There's a difference between like being a douchebag about it.
See, people just don't understand the difference between, like a bona fide top list and a personal list.
Yeah, because if you did what you think are the top, best horror films ever made, that would be a different list.
Oh man, dude, there's so many films on my top 30 list that would not make that list. Like there's like, I mean, I'm surprised more people didn't mention I didn't have The Exorcist on there. Like I love The Exorcist. I think it's a good movie, but it's not a film that I go to all the time, and it's just not one of my, top 30 films. And like I tried to explain that, like,
now if you made a list that was, the films that you think are the best horror films ever made, that The Exorcist might be on that list.
and that's the thing. And I think there's a couple of films maybe on my list that I truly believe are.
Yeah.
I think Day of the Dead
Like Psycho.
I think, yeah, Psycho, and I think Day of the Dead is one of the better ones too. Like honestly, the way it's executed so perfectly.
Yeah.
And I even mentioned that in the video too. Like I had Day of the Dead as like my number 4 film, and I even mentioned when I talked about it, I said I think Day of the Dead is a better made film than Dawn of the Dead, but Dawn of the Dead is a personal favorite of mine, and it's my honest to God favorite movie. And it has nothing to do based on quality and stuff. Like there's lots of movies that are better, like more well made than Dawn of the Dead. It's just personal choice. And I think some people cannot come to terms with personal and, bona fide list.
I had this idea, really quickly. I had this idea for a long time, but I just don't know how I'd go about executing it. But basically, get the YouTube community's top 100 list. Like, have everybody vote on things and then have them send in clips and edit into this like amazing video. It'd be so hard to pull off, but I think it would be so awesome to have like the movie community's top 100 list.
That's a really interesting idea. Wow, that would take a lot of editing. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I mean, it would be
Pretty
a long
cool.
project, and then maybe say it's like a countdown show, like kind of like the 50 movies you never seen, where it's like say Friday the 13th ends up at like number, ranked at number like 10 or something. Then you have brief clips of all these different people who talked about Friday the 13th, and you edit it to make it a cool little countdown thing. I mean, it would take so long and it would be so much effort to do that. But I think if somebody could do that, it would be really cool.
Wow,
That shit could probably make DVD, honestly.
That's an outstanding idea. That really is. That's really cool. I like that.
Now somebody do it.
Yeah. Oh man, you need a lot of time. But I think, if you don't put a time limit on it and stuff, you just kind of go with the flow and just kind of, put it together over time. I think it wouldn't even seem like that much work, to be honest. If you wanted to put it out in a month or two or something, it might be kind of a stretch because
if it's like a year-long thing, I mean, you could eventually get it together. I mean, I think that would be really, really cool to see. voted on by the horror community, the top 100 greatest horror films.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's. I mean, I'm still working on my list. I've have like 300 films on the list, and
Hmm.
I'm ranking them on IMDb because you can slide them up and down, and it's
Yeah.
easier to do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you brought up, did I consider doing, like the, 31 to 60 next or something like that? Um, yeah, man. Like I said,
I
I
think
actually,
people
I
would like to
thought
see
of that.
that video, man.
Yeah, I think I might actually compile it, and I'll really have to. It might take a while,
And you know
because.
what? It'll probably still be out before mine.
But yeah, why not? Like, why not do the list kind of in reverse order? Change up shit.
Yeah. And
Like, who knows?
also, I know that some people are working on theirs, like right now as we speak, like David and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, everybody should be doing this. It's fun. Everybody likes to see other people's opinions on their. You
yeah.
get to know more about people too. Everybody knows that my
Well,
favorite horror film of all time is Texas Chainsaw, just like everybody knows yours is Dawn of the Dead, and it
yeah.
helps people know a little bit more about you.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's actually really cool that someone like David, who's not really into making lists at all, it kind of stemmed from, a comment that was made on the Facebook group about how, I think I'd said that I loved The Omen, right? Another film that never made my top 30, but um, and then David's like, well, he didn't like The Omen. He's just like, oh, you like The Omen? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you know,
Yeah,
which is fine. And then I'm like, David, seriously, I would love to see your top 30 list because he has very interesting taste in film,
just
and
like
he's
I would
very
like to see Andrew Ballina. What is his last name? Ballina.
Ballina.
I always say his name wrong.
Yeah.
I would like to see his list because he has one of the most unique tastes in films that I've ever seen.
Oh man, Andrew is so interesting too because like he absolutely hates Return of the Living Dead and he hates Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. And then there's other films that he really likes. Like he's not a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And see all those films I love,
Yeah, I
and then
love them.
but he loves films that I love too. And I'm like,
You
so
can just not
it's
predict what
so
he's gonna like and dislike. It's impossible.
it's like a lot of people though. Like I mean, everyone has different tastes and stuff, and I always found that me and Danny always have interesting conversations because we'll have very similar taste in films, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I hate this movie," and I'm like, "Really? I love
Yeah,
that
like
movie."
Lords.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about Rubber one time, the movie Rubber. He's like, he fucking hates that movie with a passion, and I was like, I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's a really quirky film, and he's like, "Oh, I just hate it so much," and that's what I love about film is that you can have such similar taste in films, but then such opposite at the same time.
Yeah,
It's so interesting to me. But but yeah, so who knows? Maybe those videos will be
start
hitting
rolling in.
be hitting the YouTube market here in some time. Got lots of things on the go, so who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, so top 30 list. That's how I did it. All right, so get into the Rue Morgue morbid fact of the day. Now, I basically grabbed a Rue Morgue at random, pulled it out, and the first one that caught my eye, I'm going to read off. I don't know if you guys, if anyone knows about this, or if we even talked about this on the Candyman show. But I thought this was intriguing. Okay, so during the filming of Candyman 1992, Virginia Madsen was hypnotized so that her pupils would remain dilated.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. So apparently, T was the look the director wanted her character to have when confronted by the titular villain, of course, of Tony Todd. But that's like fucking like weird, isn't it?
bizarre as
I
hell.
know.
Where does that come from? Like, whose
I
idea was that?
I don't know, man. I thought that was so fucking interesting. I was like, okay, that was literally the first or second one I read on this, this list. I was like, oh, that's perfect because we've covered Candyman. I'm like, this, I have to read this out.
And I think there's also something to be said about that. Is sometimes when you hear these things that go on in productions of great movies, it kind of is almost like those little extra things sometimes are the going, the little bit of the extra mile to make these films so great. You always hear these like interesting little stories about what happened in the production of, you know, these great films. Just
Hmm.
these little extra people going the extra step.
Totally. I mean, it's just really like, is that what, it's coming to? We're just like hypnotizing people now. Hey man, Virginia, you were really great in that movie. She's like, yeah, I don't remember. It's fucking awesome. But yeah, so that's the Rue Morgue morbid fact of the day. So I believe that we do have some viewers' questions
Yeah.
that want answered. So do you want to read those off?
Yeah. First of all, this isn't so much of a question, just kind of like a comment. This is from Chris M. He said, I got this through email. He said, I listened to your show on the Devil's Eyes. You know, thanks for that, man. That's awesome. Glad to see, these different areas where our show can be found. People are finding it through. That's cool.
Yeah.
He said, you know that the Halloween set sold out through Shout Factory, right? Rich posted it on the site. Now the question is, will the Anchor Bay 15 disc set be put out that's being put out through Amazon be the same quality as the Shout Factory set? Well, I figured we'd kind of clear this up. It's actually the same set. There's no difference in the sets. The one that was on the Scream Factory website was with the limited poster, but it's still the same exact set that is on Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, the 15 disc one.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of clear that up a bit. And yeah, that sold out fast. I bet they're kicking themselves that they didn't make it 1,000 units.
Well, it was basically just the poster. Like, it was like the lithograph poster, right?
Yeah, but I think I don't think Scream Factory is selling anything besides that also. I think you can't even get the set on there anymore. You have to go through Amazon now. So I think they only, because I believe the set is being put out through Anchor Bay.
Yeah,
But
I think
it has Scream Factory extras and features and stuff. And I love the idea of them, working together to create this set. That's really cool. You don't see that often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. He also said about the transfers and stuff. Do you think they'll use the Echo Bridge transfers? And I highly doubt they'll do that.
No, I can't imagine. I think they're going to go full tilt on this one and redo the transfers. And I kind of hope that they even redo their own transfers, like of 4 and 5.
I think they'll keep the first film because I don't think it can get much better than the second release, the 35th anniversary.
I think I actually read that they are keeping that transfer. They're just reincorporating the mono track.
Yeah, which a lot of people were actually complaining about. I don't know Halloween, every nook and cranny of it and every sound, so I wouldn't have picked it up. But I know there are hardcore fans who had issues with that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the picture quality on the 35th anniversary is outstanding. So I don't see why they wouldn't just. I think they are keeping it though. So
yeah. So thanks, Chris, for emailing in. Anybody who also wants to do that, please do. You can always get in contact with us through many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then on to some of the questions we got. These two I missed last week. I apologize for that. The first question is, have you ever came close to stopping collecting? If so, why? Moodz?
Have I ever come close to stop collecting? No. I've actually never thought of it once. Even in those days where I didn't have a fucking dime to my name, I was like never contemplating on quitting collecting. It's just something I love to do, and I figure that, okay, so there's certain times I don't have a buck to my name, but I can't buy anything right now, but I'm not gonna actually just quit. I'm gonna get through those hard times and say, obviously buy movies instead of food. No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, no, I never actually considered it once. And
now I got a follow-up question that I'm asking. Have you ever thought about actually downsizing a bit and getting rid of some of the lesser popular titles in your collection? Because I know your space is getting more limited as the days go on.
It honestly does cross my mind for a second, and then I'm like, fuck that. The hoarder in me just won't allow myself to get rid of it. I'm not a reseller, man. I'm not in it to make money at all. And like, I know that's not what a lot of people do. If they're downsizing their collection for space reasons and stuff, that's totally different, right? They're just getting rid of shit and stuff, but it's not even worth it to me. I'm just going to deal with it and just like maybe just build another room or something. you
We're
know,
just gonna buy a second house to hold his DVDs.
yeah, but it does cross my mind sometimes because obviously I'll have these like massive hauls of DVDs, and there's always a bunch of stinkers in there, right? And they sit in the collection. It's like I know I'm never gonna watch that shit again, but it is actually kind of fun to pull that title out sometimes and go, man, that movie really is a piece of shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get weird enjoyment out of that. It's kind of funny, and I don't know.
Now,
I
what
mean,
about like getting rid of some of the multiple editions? No.
um, I'm not like it. It probably seems sometimes that I'm like always buying multiple editions of certain things and stuff. I buy multiple editions of certain movies,
Yeah,
and
I'm kind of the same way, but somehow I end up with 3 copies of Vampire Journals, and I'm like, well, like I might want to give these away or something.
yes, that's funny. That's funny. I don't have a lot of copies of films that I really don't want. I mean, I have like a lot of copies of movies like Dawn of the Dead and The Beyond and Zombie and films like that. And like I like those editions. And Maniac, I think I have like a dozen copies of that or something. Um, but I don't go out of my way all the time to pick up multiple shit. Like the Halloween franchise is one franchise that just seems like they put out so many editions of all the films, and I just kind of by chance pick them up. I don't go out of my way to do it though.
Yeah.
I just end up
Except
with
for
a
this
lot
new
of
set.
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna pick that up, and there's certain editions of Halloween and stuff. Like I honestly, I have a really, really well, not like as big as Andrew's collection of Halloween and stuff, but for somebody that's not an avid collector of all the editions of Halloween, I have a lot. Like every movie, I have multiple copies of, which is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, to have 2 copies of Resurrection is just fucking mind blowing, and I'm gonna have 3 once the fucking box set comes out, and so that's basically my equivalent of vampire journals.
So
Yeah.
so me on this one, I've never even considered stop collecting once because it honestly is just what I do. Like I never actually think of it as like this is what I do. It's just part of what I do. It's part of who I am kind of. So I mean I've never thought of that. I have thought of downsizing sometimes because where I'm living now, my space is very limited, and I know that in the next year or so, I'm gonna have to make a decision on to find a new place to put stuff, or maybe build shelves around the. I don't know, but I look at stuff like Shark Zone, and I'm like, do I really need this? But then I start thinking like, well, yeah, because I want a big collection of shark movies, even the bad ones. So it's like, yeah, I mean, but there are honestly like a few things that I could eventually get rid of if I found that my space was becoming more and more limited. There's some stuff that I would give away or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, the next question is, if you could take any non-horror movie and turn it into a horror movie, what movie would it be and how would you do it?
Oh man, that's an interesting question. It's oh wow, like I could think about this all day.
This
For
is one of those
starters,
questions you ponder at work.
yeah, exactly, and it's a good one to ponder at work because yeah, it's definitely it's got longevity to the answer. But for starters, I think that movies like Knocked Up are already a horror film. It's already a horror film. Like that's everyone's worst nightmare right there. One night stand, fucking no. But for serious, a movie that I would like to turn into a horror film. I think something like the first thing that came to my mind was making if this is even possible, making like something like Requiem for a Dream even darker. Make that into like
Yeah.
type of
Okay,
horror
see,
film.
I'm
Because that
kind of
movie's
right
already
with you on that
yeah.
because mine was something like Kids, where I
Yeah.
would try to make it even like darker and more of like a horror film. Because I really really love the hyper realistic look at teenage life and stuff. I've always really been I love those movies. Like Kids
Mhm.
and Bully and all the Larry Clark stuff and other stuff that I've seen like Mean Creek and 13, just different films like that. I love those films. They're probably some of the films that I like most outside of horror, and I think that a hyper realistic teenage type of film like that as a horror film would also be pretty cool.
Yeah, totally, man.
Requiem for a Dream is a good choice. That movie's
Yeah, I think there's lots of possibilities, man. Could you imagine like I don't know, this sounds kind of funny, but like a movie like Labyrinth, but like
I've
completely horror
actually never
stuff.
seen Labyrinth.
Oh, really? Fuck. It's like one of my favorite non-horror films. But yeah, something like that. Like just take that idea and just kind of make it real horrorish, you know? But it's an interesting question because I would actually like to like really kind of ponder this. Maybe I'll think
Yeah.
about it tomorrow.
If we come up with some other ones, we'll definitely bring it up. Um, After that, we have Danny asking us most disturbing film you've ever seen.
Man, it's a hard question. You know, I've watched a lot of fucking messed up fucking movies. Um, but, and I'm not going to say this is the most disturbing film ever made by any means. It's just the one movie that kind of got to me the most. And I've stated this before, and it's The Girl Next Door. I mean, I've seen, you know, the Lucifer Valentine. I mean, they're not so much disturbing that they're, you know, kind of gross, but, you know, even, you know, August Underground Mortem and stuff, I find, you know, they can be disturbing on a lot of levels. Some people find a Serbian film, and you know these are more common ones, but there's a lot of disturbing films out there. But this one, The Girl Next Door, fucked my head up because it's not only based on a true story, it's also where the setting is. It's set in like a fucking, you know, an upper or kind of middle upper class, you know, kind of white neighborhood with white picket fences and all, and this horrific fucking shit is happening in this basement that's controlled by this girl's aunt, you know,
Yeah,
and just the rape and the way she's making kids, you know, neighborhood kids, and allowing them to come in and making them do things to this her niece and stuff.
and it's not even so much making because they're almost down for anyway.
Yeah, and it's just so fucked up because it's, once again, it comes back to where it's set. It's set in this nice ass neighborhood, and this shit shouldn't be happening.
Yeah,
It
well,
really got to
we've
me. I was like,
talked
this is
about this
fucked up.
before, and I think one of the key things in that film is that it's set in the nice Leave It to Beaver setting in the 50s,
Yeah,
and it's so dark for that type of setting that it
yeah.
really like throws you off, and it
Hmm.
makes it even more disturbing. And we've talked about that before. I think that is a film that can definitely be talked about in depth. There's a lot to say about that one. That one is also kind of my answer. I think that's the most disturbed I've ever been. But honestly, a runner up is the first time I seen the Human Centipede. I That shit kind of disturbed me, and I didn't know about
Hmm.
the hype. I just seen it one night with a friend, and I did not know what I just seen. I was like, this is a weird title movie, and we watched it, and I was like, I just wasn't expecting it, man. It actually got to me.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question to answer because there's so many different levels you can explain your answer on. I mean, there's more disturbing films, I think, than The Girl Next Door that I've even seen, I think, but I think this is the one that affected me the most. And that's the way I like to answer things. I like to answer things based on, you know, kind of personal issues. And like, I just, dude, that movie, even thinking about it kind of makes me nauseous. It's a movie that I have a hard time when I see it in my collection. I'm like, you know, I am probably going to watch that again someday, but like, I just don't want to watch it again.
Yeah, I
It's like
know
the
the
weirdest
feeling.
thing. And that's
It's a
exactly how I
depressing
base
film.
why, to, you know, why I base my answer on that. And I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I've seen fucked up shit, man. Like
Yeah.
really crazy fucked up shit. Like, I think Mortem's insane. Like, oh man, Mortem's
August,
nuts.
August Underground was pretty disturbing, also.
Yeah,
Um,
and but like, I don't know, man. It's just something about this movie that really fucking,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
yeah.
What is your personal most terrifying movie moment? This is the fifth question.
My personal most terrifying movie moment. Um, that's another really hard question.
I
Um,
have an answer for mine. I'll go first. Uh, Honestly, the most terrified I probably ever been in a movie. Man, it's a tie kind of. The moment is probably the end of the Blair Witch Project. I don't think I've ever had a film like uh really stick with me after I seen it and actually scare me to where I was just terrified. I was 8 years old when I seen this. yeah, it's just I live in like there's woods right outside my bedroom window. You know, like I just remember laying in bed just thinking about like the witch out in the woods is like terrified the hell out of me. But the other one would be the Zelda scene in Pet Cemetery because that scene actually gave me a nightmare, and it's the only scene that ever has done that. So I have to mention that one too because it was just something about it as a kid where it just comes out of nowhere. I was just like, I did not understand what it was even, what that woman was. It was so damn creepy. Oh man, the Zelda scene is pure terror. Show a kid that, I will.
Yeah, it's
Like
interesting.
anytime I meet a kid, I'm like, you want to see something scary?
um, for me, like thinking back on early moments in my childhood when in parts that scared me in films, I gotta go with. I know this sounds really funny, but I've talked about this before about how Children of the Corn like terrified me as a kid. I know it sounds so funny, and it's
No, dog, I'm
a
kind of
lot.
with you on that, man. Something about that first scene with the the murders in the coffee
Yeah,
shop and Malachi, man, that Isaac, yeah, man, I'm with you.
dude.
I love.
It's because it's kids killing their parents and then running. They're basically the only ones left. It really got to me. It kind of terrified me. And I always the scene that kind of I think the first time I watched it as a child, um, I just didn't see it coming because I wasn't that experienced with these type of movies and stuff, and it really fucking gave me nightmares, man. It was the scene where the one boy in the cornfield gets his neck slit, right?
Yeah,
And then next thing you know, the children of the corn, a couple of the kids, they fucking they put the kids standing up in the road,
yeah,
and you got the two main characters driving down the road, and they hit him, and they think that they actually hit him, but of course we know that they didn't, or that he was already dead. But that fucking moment just terrified me as a kid.
yeah.
I don't know what it was, the way they hit him, and I was like, oh, what, like, man,
There's
it's just
something really creepy about the cornfield, and
to this day, I still have this weird thing with cornfields.
yeah, yeah.
Every
You
time
ever
I see a
stand in one
cornfield,
and you're just kind of like,
yeah,
yeah,
they're creepy on so many levels because they can grow so high that you
and they're
can't see
so
out of
thick you
them,
can't see anything but
and
corn.
it hurts, man. You walk through a cornfield, like, it fucking hurts. It's scratchy and it's not cool, man. And like, I don't know, man. There's something about that fucking movie just always gets to me.
You made me really want to watch Children of the Corn now. Last time I watched it, I felt like it was a bit dated, and it's kind of one of those films that doesn't really hold up super well. And
Hmm.
it's a film also that couldn't be done today. You see
Yeah,
that even in the remake, but that was just a poor effort.
yeah.
I think if you was gonna do another Children of the Corn, you have to set it in the 70s or 80s.
Oh, for sure, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But very solid movie. Poor sequels. I like a couple of them, but
Yeah, another film that I don't know specifically parts of the film, but just really, really got to me. I think it's because the first time I watched the movie, I knew about Ouija boards, and like I was kind of terrified of them because just the idea of conjuring up fucking demons or ghosts or whatever through this board or talking to them and stuff, it like kind of freaked me out, right? So the first time I watched Witchboard, really fucking terrified me, man. Like just the scene where the demon is like got this sword and he's fucking. When you watch it now, it's like, oh, okay, how the fuck did that scare the shit out of me? But just the idea of like this, this demon fucking doing that shit and stuff terrified me, dude.
yeah.
Terrified me. Like as a kid, I hated when people would bring out Ouija boards. When I remember one time I was about 13 years old and I was at my girlfriend's. No, we were in grade 7. I was 12 years old, and she had a Ouija board and I didn't know, and she brought it out and I was like, no, I don't want to fucking play that shit, right? And then I just started having like these flashbacks to watching Witchboard. I'm like, nah, man, fucking no, bad things happen, man. Like it kind of got to me, and I was like, but those moments always stick with me, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Witchboard and Children of the Corn are the two movies I always remember kind of freaking me out.
Yeah,
So
and really quickly, another like one that creeped me out that is just it's a weird moment. Is the opening to Tales from the Crypt, man. Used to terrify the hell out of me as a kid, man. It would just like freaked me the hell out. But I
It's so
loved it.
weird. Yeah, it's so weird. You know what? I would actually like to hear some people's, moments that have scared them.
Yeah, definitely. Write a comment.
Write a comment down because it's an interesting conversation because a lot of us are all different ages and stuff, so certain things at certain times affected us
Yeah, like
differently and
Blair
stuff,
Witch.
right?
Like Blair Witch is not going to do that to you.
No, and that's the thing. I remember watching Blair Witch in the project, Blair Witch
He
in the
was watching
theater,
Blair Witch in the Hood.
in the projects. Yeah, I watched it in the theater, and you know, it was a pretty unique experience actually. Watching like a found footage film in the theater was different and stuff. But I was also 19 when it came out, right? So I was kind of past that point where this movie probably is not going to terrify me.
Yeah.
So it was just a little different, but
Yeah. After that, Zach, of course, asks us who wins in a straight up butchering knife fight, the Stepfather or Norman Bates? If I'm actually realistically looking at it, I think the Stepfather wins.
Yeah, to be honest, my first thought was the Stepfather too, just for the simple fact that Norman Bates is kind of reserved. He's a little shy. I think the Stepfather would just. I mean, he's a mean motherfucker.
Yeah, like the scene in the basement with the, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of experience, man. He's killed multiple families.
Yeah.
And I think that he's a little more experienced, and I think he's a little quicker. And
let's face it, Norman Bates is a mama's boy.
Exactly. And yeah, Stepfather is not reserved. He's ready to kick your fucking ass. And I think that I don't think Norman has a chance on this one.
Yeah. Maybe if he's Mother, maybe he puts up more of a fight. But if he's just straight up Norman Bates, I mean, you don't stand a chance. After that, Adrian asks us, most disturbing film you have in your collection, or what film do you have in your collection that you're unsure about watching because it's gross/disturbing? I think this one is, once again, the Girl Next Door, probably.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
because even that one I'm unsure about rewatching, because it's kind of just it's a downer of a film, man. You get in it. You can, if you're depressed and you watch that, you might kill yourself.
Yeah, totally. I mean, to be honest, like the Girl Next Door. Yeah, I mean, that's
Jack
a film
Kevorkian could just show the Girl Next Door to his patients.
Yeah, I gotta say, like I said before, I said when I see it in a collection, I look at it and I pass by.
Actually, we was gonna watch it on an episode of the Burial Grounds. We had an episode titled "Are They Disturbing?" Right? It was gonna be like we was gonna watch like 4 films that are considered, quote unquote, disturbing, and we was gonna debate if they were or weren't. And well, I'm kind of glad we didn't do that because I might have killed myself after that week.
For films that I have in my collection that I haven't gotten around to watching, this is really easy to, or that I just haven't watched for various reasons. But
Faces of Death.
It's a Traces of Death series, the box set.
That box set shot up so fast, so high again.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, real death films and stuff are not really my cup of tea. Like, to be honest, like they're not like either. They don't like overly disturb me. I mean, death. I mean, whatever. It's caught on film. Blah blah blah.
There's something interesting about it, but at the same time,
I think it's watching like 90 minutes of it though that kind of gets me a little bit.
It's a like I'll look at a clip and I'll be like, wow, and there's some. You're right. You definitely hit that on the head because it's something about watching a long period of that where it's just too much.
Exactly. Like I can handle it in small doses for sure, but Steve asks me all the time. He's like, "Yo, man, have you been watching those films yet?" I'm like, "Dude, I still haven't gotten around to it," because he's been randomly posting, reviews of the series, and I keep telling him the same thing. I'm gonna get to him, eventually, and I just don't. Because I mean, it's not that that's freaking me out. It's just like those are the type of films that you have to be in a certain mood to watch.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And that's really what the answer is. It's the Traces of Death box set for sure.
Alrighty. And finally, Zach asks, favorite killer animal movie? Oh, that's a tough one.
Favorite killer animal film? When I hear favorite killer animal film, I really try to single out um, shark films.
Yeah,
I
see,
always think,
Jaws is honestly the answer for me.
yeah, see, like, I always think of like shark films as shark films. I of
Yeah,
course I know they're animal fucking whatever
yeah,
type horror films and stuff, but I always kind of I always try to put sharks in a category of their own just to make
yeah.
things a
Like
little easier.
aquatic horror, aquatic
I mean,
killer animals.
there's a lot of
Um,
different ways to answer this, and
yeah,
I kind of looked at the question and I was like, you know what? I thought of a bunch right off the top of my head, like Day of the Animals. I love. I think Day of the Animals is so
that's
brilliant.
one I really got to grab.
I love Alligator from 1980,
Yeah,
man.
see, Alligator's been so long since I've seen that.
I like really, really cheesy fucking. I kind of mix this up a lot here. Rats, the Italian
Rats.
film Rats. Fuck.
I like killer rat movies.
Yeah.
I like a lot of killer animal movies.
Mhm.
I just there's something about them, man. They're just cool to me.
Yeah, the Rats, man. It's Italian cheese, but it's fun and I love it, man. Actually, the very first film I thought of when I read the question was Piranha, because I remember watching Piranha over and over and over again as a kid and just loving it. Like it kind of it gets you thinking when you go in the water. Like I'll go into like some freshwater lake or whatever, and I'm like, oh, of course there's no fucking piranhas in there. This
How
is
about
not.
some Anaconda?
Yeah, like
Ice
Anaconda.
Cube.
I haven't watched Anaconda in so long. It's been forever.
Yeah.
A couple other ones that I just right off the dome was Prophecy, Squirm.
Yeah, honestly, Prophecy is a damn good one, even though it's like not a like real animal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then, but like the chart topper really,
Slugs.
yeah, the chart topper for me is Long Weekend.
Mm,
Um,
that's
I
another
just
one
did,
I need.
I just did this on the Australian theme week, and it's such a brilliant film. And to my surprise, it's the least watched review out of all of mine on that week, and it's by far the best film. And it just kind of cracks me up a little bit, but it's brilliant. And if you guys haven't seen Long Weekend out there, check it out, man. It's such a great film. I mean, that review could have went on for a half an hour. It's a film that you could talk about forever. There's lots of shit going on. So, um, killer animals though, fuck, dude, there's so many. There's so many.
Yeah.
Uh, Lots of snake ones. I didn't list any snake films, but lots of good ones. I guess Anaconda, you mentioned it, but yeah,
Alrighty. That wraps it up for the questions.
that is done for the questions already. So, uh, what are we moving on to here? Are we going to
What we watched, I think.
what we watched? Yeah, I think we are done Moodz Swingz. That is definitely it for Moodz Swingz. All right, so we will get into the what we watched segment of the show. JP, do you have a film that you watched this week?
Yes, I do. I'm going to start things off with Patrick from the year 1978. This one follows a nurse as she gets a job at a private hospital where she takes care of a comatose patient named Patrick, who we learn in the beginning of the film murdered his mother, I believe, and her lover. As she is taking care of him, shaving his face, flipping his body over, changing his sheets, you got to take care of those comatose people. They can't do anything themselves. Um, so she starts kind of getting, there's a bond with him. She finds there's something about him that she likes. Then she starts kind of communicating with him. It turns out that he has telekinetic powers. This is, of course, 2 years removed from Carrie. And I know that in the 70s, there was like a huge amount of like copycat Carrie films, or at least, kind of the same story. Carrie was a huge hit. And pretty much, people start getting hurt or dying around her. And it's Patrick. She starts communicating with him. And that's pretty much the plot. This one to me, I really kind of liked it, and I've actually something kind of something I'll get to a little later opened my eyes to some of the issues that I initially had with it, because when I did my review on Body Bags, I said that I felt like it was too slow, and I'll still go by that a little bit. That they could have shaved off some minutes here and there. It's a pretty
Yeah,
long film.
it is actually quite long. Yeah.
but I think that those scenes need to be built. And I'll explain why a little later in the show. But um, there's a lot of kind of moments that just creep the hell out of me, dude. I think the guy they use for Patrick is one of the weirdest looking people I've ever seen, man.
I
He
think he
just
was actually.
creeps the hell out of me with his unibrow, just
Oh yeah.
staring blankly into space. It creeps the hell out of me.
Don't you think that like being cast for a movie like Patrick would be so weird?
Yeah, because you
You
don't have
literally,
no expression,
you're literally
no
laying
dialogue.
there. You're laying there, not saying a thing, and just staring. Like, man, I mean, all you were there to receive was just eye drops. Like the whole movie, they're just putting eye drops in
Is
his
that
eyes.
unibrow real?
I don't know. I don't
Because
know.
it is a
Actually,
damn creepy. Like I don't. It's something about that, man. Um, and of course, the nurse, I actually kind of liked her. She was pretty cool, decent character. I feel like I don't know. I almost wanted something more. It feels like that. It almost seems like there was something missing in this film that I would have liked to see a little more of. You know, maybe um, I don't know. Maybe the climax kind of was a little like the third act climax. It was a little of a letdown, but I like the lead ups to everything. The
mm,
lead up is really where the film excels. It's kind of a fun building uh, up to something. It kind of doesn't deliver, but um, definitely the ride is pretty cool.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a while since I watched it, but I really enjoyed the film though. I think it's pretty good. It's
Yeah,
kind of an interesting concept.
I liked it a lot. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Nice. 7 out of 10. Alrighty, so first film from this week, and man, I had quite the fucking list of films here. Like I've watched a lot of movies in the last little bit, and so I decided to go with this one because I kind of wanted to talk about certain aspects of the release and stuff too. But from 1981, a film that I previously reviewed on my 81 series, and it's called Final Exam. Of course, released recently by Scream Factory. Um, and it's interesting because once I reviewed this movie, and then watching the movie again, I noticed some things in the film that I don't know that I don't think I mentioned in my previous review and stuff. But anyways, basically, Final Exam is it's set in a university. It's exam week, obviously, and it's just a bunch of students. It follows like a bunch of different characters, and they're writing their final exams, getting ready to go home and stuff. And um, there's this really cool scene in the beginning of the film where, which you could probably not even do nowadays because it's like totally not cool. But there's this scene in the film where they basically it's a diversion scene is what it is. What happens is this van pulls up. They basically have automatic weapons. They start shooting up a whole pile of students on the campus, and people are like witnessing this. It's basically a prank, but it's also a diversion at the same time. So they
Oh,
start shooting
okay.
up all
So
these
school
people.
shootings are a little touchy now.
Exactly, right. So this is, at a time when it probably wasn't as prevalent as it is now. But anyway, so they start shooting up all these people, and of course, like all the goons that are inside this van, they start collecting up the bodies and they clean up the whole crime scene. And there's nothing left. And there's this one character, he's like a really dorky, kind of, nerdy dude. He calls in the police and whatnot. But basically the whole point of them, doing this prank was to cause a diversion for a couple of the guys that were writing their exam. So when it caused a diversion, they switched the tests and they, so they could pass their fucking tests and shit, right? So, anyways, that was kind of the whole point of it. But, soon after, people started getting picked off like at random, basically randomly by this killer. He starts killing people on this campus. So it's like it's a university campus slasher film. And that's like what's going on in the entire film. So, but the issue with this film originally was, people always claim that it had absolutely no point because, like once the end happens and stuff, you're like, okay, who the fuck is, there's really no point to that film. But there's moments in the film where I can't remember the guy's name. I cannot for the life of me remember the dorky guy's name. But anyways, he's like this really paranoid character. And he's always talking about like how people commit crimes at random all the time and shit like that. And he's just saying things like that. And he's always concerned and he's always worried about other people. And he's just kind of looking at, he's just kind of that doom and gloom kind of character and stuff. And I came to the realization that's the whole point of the movie is to be killing at random. And he's basically saying it throughout the film. And even though there's actually no motive for the killings by the killer in this film, I mean, it's not a secret. Nothing is ever revealed. But the point is told by this character during the middle of the film. He's so concerned about random acts of violence in today's society and stuff like that. And
you know what? I mean, because it is true. Stuff happens randomly.
That's the whole point.
It kind of reminds me of, really quickly, people always complain about Eli Roth's characters, how they're all douchey, kind of, bros and stuff. Mm-hmm. But those people exist. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't mind his characters. And it's kind of similar, stuff happens randomly.
Yeah. And, and it's something I never really kind of picked up on before reviewing this film and stuff. And I was rewatching it again going, I totally understand this movie now. And I think it's a thing that people overlook in this.
It's something you can take as a negative and actually turn into the kind of a positive.
Yeah. And this movie's always been plagued by, it's one of the most pointless slashers ever because there's no point. There's no motive for these killings. And I'm like,
when really there is a point. The point is that it's random.
Random. And that's the whole point of the movie. And it's actually about being a random killer. Because, you never see the guy's face. You never, there's nothing there. There's no substance to the killer or nothing. But it's not the point. They don't elaborate on it because that's not the point. And I actually really gained, a new respect for this film. It's actually pretty cool. And, I've always liked it because I'm a big slasher fan, but I just really, kind of fully understood the film now. I know it sounds so stupid, but, it's just interesting. I finally picked up on, kind of got the actual fucking meaning of the movie. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It doesn't have the craziest kills in it or anything, but it's interesting. There's actually a couple fuck ups in the film too. I've caught before too, but I won't get into that. But if you're just looking for a mindless slasher that's just kind of basic and stuff, I do recommend this. It's not, like I said, it doesn't have a lot of substance to it.
It's not one of the
no
mid-tier. It's not like the Slaughter Highs of the world. It's a little less than that.
Exactly. It's fun though. So getting into the Scream Factory release, the picture quality on this release is fantastic. It looks really good. Scorpion previously re-released this film a couple years back on DVD, and they did a really good job with their transfer too. But this upgraded, HD transfer is fantastic. Do have issues with the audio a little bit, of course. Again, the movie is a little hissy. They needed another de-esser on the fucking S's again. When S's are being spoken in the film, it's very hissy and it's very fucking annoying. It's more prevalent in the beginning of the film again. Probably has something to do with the original audio track, like they said with body bags and stuff too. But this one isn't as bad. It doesn't glitch a lot. It's not that blippy in the film, but it is kind of noticeable for somebody, especially for somebody like me. But I'm sure other people have noticed it. But otherwise, it's a pretty good transfer, and they did a pretty good job. It's not a ton of features on this one, but it's definitely worth picking up, man, if you like, slasher films, especially from 1981. So, Final Exam. I'm not 100% sure. I probably should have went back and checked my rating when I rated this film before, because it's probably going to be completely different. But rewatching it, whatever. I'm entitled to have a new rating, right?
Yeah, right. I do all the time.
I'm going to give it a 7.5 because
really?
I think it's very, very subtle in the meaning of the film, and I like that. I really gained a new respect for it. I think it's pretty damn cool.
All right.
So, Final Exam from Scream Factory. Check it out.
All right, next up, continuing on with my little telekinesis kick, I watched Carrie from the year 2013. I decided to check out the remake. It was in somebody in the house rented it out of the Redbox, and I decided to, might as well pop it in. So I don't know. I guess the plot is there's a very exactly like the original film. There's a shy outcast girl in a school who is sheltered by her deeply, and I mean deeply, religious mother, uh, who gets picked on at school, and it's a story of revenge. Um, and she also happens to have telekinetic powers. So the remake of Carrie, when we talked earlier about like the pointless kind of remakes, this is one because they don't change anything. They don't take the idea and put a new spin on it. They literally are updating it to modern uh, kids, modern audiences. There is no new spins, twists, directions. A lot of reused dialogue. Some of it shouldn't have been reused. Some of it should have been updated. Like when she gets her period and they're like throwing tampons at her and they're like plug it up, plug it up. Like it sounds so fucking cheesy saying that today. Like it does. Nobody would say that today. Nobody.
What? They even use like the same lingo from back in the day? That's ridiculous.
That's one of the lines that I was like, all right, you definitely needed to update that to something else. Of course, one of the girls is recording it with her cell phone, so it's like it's updated, but they're still saying this cheesy ass lines like "plug it up." A little bit of an issue there, at the very beginning of the film.
Wow.
There was like maybe like 2 or 3 like added scenes that wasn't in the original. And they kind of both ones that I'm thinking of. There's one at the opening where Carrie is actually born. That one was unneeded, and then there's one at the end that I thought was completely unneeded. I didn't like how the film ended at all. That a lot of the scene with the I don't want to spoil that. The whole ending of the film, when Carrie returns from the prom, that is all done kind of the same, but just worse, way, way, way worse. Carrie is throwing knives at somebody. That is just not done good at all. Now, there were things that I thought were okay in this film. I actually thought Chloe Grace Moretz's performance was all right. She's no Sissy Spacek. She doesn't have that weird look that I love about Sissy Spacek, because Sissy Spacek looks like a girl that, she's not like ugly, but she has a unique look to her. She has unique features.
That was always one of my favorite things about the original Carrie film was Sissy Spacek, because she's perfect for the role. She kind of
really
looks,
is.
She kind of looks a little homely. Like she's not ugly. She's not like overly pretty, but she fits that character.
She cleans
so
up
perfect.
Nice enough.
That's the thing. Yeah, and I found that what's the new girl's name?
Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah, I always think of her, the girl from Kick-Ass, but yeah, I think that she's maybe a little too pretty. Like, did they kind of downgrade her look a little bit?
That's kind of what I was getting to next. So she's like 16, which is absolutely perfect for this role, because I think she was 16 when it was filming, because she looks like a high schooler, because she is a high schooler, and that is one thing I would give them major props on.
Yeah,
now it kind of, you can't have the nudity in the shower, and it looked a little like they was having a hard time working around that. Obviously, she's 16. And some of the other scenes you can't do as much, but I loved that she was a young girl. She looked like a teenager. It worked so well for me. Now they did get her to look a little like the weird girl. She kind of did look a little weird. Like, you can obviously tell she's pretty and she could clean up well. But they did some stuff with her hair that made it look a little, unkept. And I thought it was definitely acceptable. Now her performance I thought was good at the times when she was that poor girl who's like, why do they pick on me and stuff. It actually, I felt it at times where I'm like, man, why you gotta fuck with little Chloe Grace Moretz and stuff, you little mean bitches. But then when she was in full-blown Carrie mode post blood scene, not good at all. I thought it was actually pretty bad, and it was kind of sad to watch. And there's a lot of things that I have to say about this one. It was way too polished, way, way, way damn too polished. Everything looked, it didn't feel like a real high school. The showers didn't feel like a real shower, shower room. Just way, 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 way too polished. Overall, my main assessment of Carrie is, there's some interesting cool things there, like Chloe's performance at times, and that's kind of it. uh, Overall, it was completely unnecessary because they didn't change anything. It wasn't a Rob Zombie Halloween type thing where he takes ideas and creates a new mythos and surrounding the character. It was literally recycled scenes.
Hmm.
All the characters felt fake. Like the boyfriend of the one that John Travolta played in the original Carrie. That's
Yeah,
John Travolta, right? Yeah.
yeah.
That guy, terrible. He's like an updated version, but it's like a exaggerated version that I didn't like at
Mm.
all. The gym teacher, the one that's nice to Carrie, she was great. I really liked her in this film. A lot of comparing these two films because they're the same film. It's
Mhm.
not one of those things where you have to disconnect because it's the same film.
So, is the new Carrie film rated PG-13?
No, it's R, I believe. I'm pretty
It
sure it's
is.
R.
It is
Yeah,
RC.
because they definitely kill a lot of kids. But
Okay.
it's not. I just thought the telekinetic end scene, post blood, it was just a bit over the top. It didn't. It
Mhm.
felt way too polished. It didn't feel like as like brutal as the original Carrie. And the
Yeah.
blood scene, total failure. Not even close. Not even does not even hold the slightest bit of a candle to the original Carrie.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
sad.
just that so many times in Carrie was
Mm.
I thinking of the original, like, oh my God, it was done so much better. I love the original Carrie. It's one of my favorite films. And
Yeah.
this one was overall just, it's a copy and paste, but, obviously done poor. But
Mhm.
it was entertaining enough to where I didn't hate it. And I give it a 6 out of 10 for that. I really like Chloe Moretz. I'd love to see her in more horror films. I think she brought it. She really tried. And what she was working with, I think she did an okay job.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's so interesting. The way that they use Chloe, and she's actually 16 years old. I think that's interesting because I think when Sissy Spacek played the role of Carrie, she, I believe, was like 26 or something
Yeah, really.
in that role. Like, she was quite a bit
They were
older.
all
Like,
pretty old looking, John
oh,
Travolta,
totally.
shit,
To-
William Cat.
but I mean, Sissy Spacek didn't look her age, though. She did look a little younger than
Yeah,
like
yeah.
26 or whatever.
She was like the youngest looking one there.
But that's kind of unfortunate that they used somebody that was obviously underage, and they couldn't have that shower scene and make it really effective. I think the
Yeah.
nudity was very effective in the film, but that's
I
just
think the scenes with Carrie, actually, with Chloe actually like being the sad girl who just wants to be liked so much. Not even so much liked, where she just wants to get by without people, harassing her. Like I think those scenes truly are effective, and that's why I had to give it some points for that because I
mhm.
was feeling for her at times. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
exactly what Carrie is. Like you feel for Sissy Spacek's character,
Oh,
like it's just fucked up, man.
big
So
time.
yeah, Carrie. I mean, I had a lot to say about that one, but you know, I like the original Carrie, and this one kind of had a lot of things wrong with it. Some few
Hmm.
things right with it, but yeah, good.
Did you rate that one?
Yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, okay. I think I missed that.
There
Okay.
there was enough things in there to give it above average. I think
Okay.
as a remake, terrible, one of the worst. But
Yeah.
as a film, if the original Carrie never existed, 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So next up for me is a film from, oh man, I think it's like 2002, I believe this one came out, courtesy of Brain Damage Films. My boy Vanilla Gorilla Beast actually did like an awesome review of this film the other day on his angry reviews. But the ironic part about it, I had actually watched this movie the night before he posted this, so I had to talk about it. But that's Terror Toons.
I actually own this. I never
Oh my!
watched it. I own it in a big box set.
Oh really? Wow,
Yeah,
crazy,
one of those 50 movie packs.
insane. Wow. I didn't think this movie was ever on something like that, but that's pretty cool. I know actually. I think this DVD right here, the original Brain Damage one, is actually out of print.
I
I think this
think
was
I
actually out of
own
print.
Terratoons 2 also.
Oh, really? Because that one's actually really hard to find. It's
Yeah.
interesting. But anyways, you got your main characters, Candy and Cindy. They're two sisters. They're fucking. This movie cracks me up right from the start. So Candy and Cindy are supposed to be, high school, whatever. They're quite clearly like in their late 20s, maybe early 30s. Right there, it's just already cracking me up. But anyways, their parents go out of town for the weekends. Their mom is this transsexual. It's totally played by a guy. It's so fucking funny. But anyways, they go out of town for the weekend. Of course, they tell the kids not to have people over and stuff. Candy is supposed to be the younger kid. Like, I don't know. She's supposed to be like 12 or so. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know. She's got like pigtails, and I think that she's supposed to be young, but there's actually nudity too, so I don't think that is what they're getting. But anyways, she's played by Lizzie Borden, and if you know who she is, she's actually a hardcore porno actress.
Yeah, I follow her on Twitter, I think.
But anyways, yeah, so she plays the younger Candy. Anyways, and more focuses about Cindy. She's got a friend, and basically convinces her. She's like, well, your parents are going out of town, let's have a fucking party. So they bring up a bunch of people over. But just before this happens, Candy actually goes outside and receives like this DVD in the mail or whatever, and she pops it in her TV in her room and whatnot, and she's watching this DVD, and she basically allows the Terror Toon characters to come out of the TV and stuff. Basically, I think what it comes down to is that you have to play the movie for them to come out of it. So she unfortunately releases this terror known as the Terror Toons, and they come out of the TV and they start fucking some shit up. It's like, it's so funny because it's kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit meets like the lowest budget film ever. But the Terror Toons and their characters are called Dr. Carnage and Max Assassin, and it's basically guys in like foam suits. But there is a lot of animation in the film, like with eye popping and stuff like that. And it's pretty funny. I mean, considering the budget of this film, they did a pretty good job for what they did. But so once Max Assassin and Dr. Carnage come out of the TV, they start fucking some shit up. It gets really gory too. There's like lots of guts and kind of things going out. Like Candy actually gets her backbone ripped completely out of her back and shit. It's
Scorpion style.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But overall the movie's like super, super cheesy, and like it's fun though. Like, I mean, it's just one of those films that's so bad. It's so fucking bad. It's actually entertaining as shit. It's so funny to watch. Like, the laugh on Dr. Carnage cracks me up every single time. And he's got like these googly eyes that always are moving. Really cracks me up, man. But the acting in this movie is the topper. It's so bad. It's so fucking bad that you just can't stop watching, if that makes any sense. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I've even seen people compare this to, I think even Vanilla Gorilla Beast even said it in his video, that this is like on the same lines as like, Plan 9 from Outer Space, one of the worst movies ever made. But at the same time, like, Plan 9 from Outer Space, I think it's completely enjoyable to watch, but this is like on a different level of shittiness, and it's pretty funny because there's, like I said, a lot of animation in the film in certain parts and stuff, and it's really bad, but just it has this quality about it that is so rewatchable. I could totally watch this again. But with that said, it's not a good movie by any means. It's pretty fucking bad, and this will not appeal to like a lot of people. Like David would not be interested in watching a movie like this. But
these things are hit and miss with me. Like stuff like the worst horror movie ever made, where they're trying to make a bad movie. I'm not usually with that. If they're putting some effort in and it's just bad, I'm cool with that. I could get enjoyment out of some of those.
I believe the budget for this film was like a couple $1,000, like $2,500 or $3,000 or something like that. It's pretty actually amazing what they did with that budget for this. It's pretty decent. Like, it's pretty enjoyable. I think Joe Castro did a great job with this, to be honest, man. I know it's, I'm sure he wasn't trying to make, the fucking best movie ever made, but at the same time, he probably couldn't. But it's enjoyable. I think it's fun as hell. I mean, I can't really give it like the highest rate in the world, but I do give it a loose recommendation for people that like movies like this. But I think it's something that's kind of unique, though, because you don't see a lot of films that are kind of half animated and, horror and kind of, and like the sound effects in this are almost like Troma sound effects too. And like, it's fucking, everything about this movie is fucking hilarious, man. But I would give it like a 5.5 out of 10, a loose pass. loose recommendation, but Terror
Okay.
Tunes. You come across this thing, Matt, or definitely watch it. JP, watch this movie and give me your thoughts on it because I think you might actually like it. It's pretty
Okay.
fucking fun.
I'm up for the challenge. So yeah, the third film I watched, keeping with the telekinesis theme, I watched Patrick.
You already
Um,
talked to Patrick.
no, no, the what year? 2013, Patrick.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, the remake. This one, it's pretty similar story. A nurse goes to a hospital where she takes care of a patient who's in a coma, and this one's kind of a little, the setups, this layout's a little different. It kind of has this like dreary gothic look to it, which I was kind of digging at first. But man, this one to me, it just one of my complaints with the original was that it was too slow. And now looking back, those aren't so much of complaints. I said that I would get to that in a second, and I am, because this one, they don't build anything. All the scenes that are in the first film, or some of them are redone in this film, and they're just not built enough. And I really kind of, I was taken back for a second because I'm like, okay, it all makes sense why these scenes were so long in the original, because they don't work in this one at all.
Mm-hmm.
The Patrick character, awful. I hate the way he looks. It reminds me of like Taylor Lautner or something. Just he's not creepy looking. He's just, oh man, I don't know. And they just go completely over the top with what like he's killing people like out on cliffs who are like so far away from the hospital, like in a car, like makes them drive off a cliff. It's ridiculous. It really is. This one, I actually was kind of annoyed watching it just because I really didn't care for it at all. I like the original so much better. This one has its moments early on where it feels like they have something there. Like I said, the dreary gothic look. I thought that the doctor and the nurse kind of had an interesting thing going on there. They redo a few scenes, but overall, man, I don't have much to say about this one. It's another one of those cases where it's kind of like the same film, but in the third act, they just amp it up like way too much, and it's over the top as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I only give Patrick a 5.5 out of 10. Patrick 2013. Yeah. I think it's called like Evil Awakens or some shit.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Have you heard anything about that one? Like, has people
not really
been giving it good ratings or anything?
No, I haven't really heard anyone talk about it. That's why I was surprised.
Yeah.
So
I actually planned on watching the original Carrie too, like a double telekinetic thing, remake and original. But I didn't have time to watch the original Carrie, but I love that film. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, so my next pick here is from since 2011, and I know a lot of people were kind of talking about this one. I think when it first came out, and it's called Psycho Holocaust. I mean, really, how can you pass up a movie called Psycho Holocaust? You got to check out that shit. The storyline pretty kind of generic. It's about six friends. I believe six friends. Yeah, six friends that go out to the mountains. For they want to go camping. Do it up one last time before they kind of split their ways because one of the girls is pregnant and stuff, and they kind of feel that they're kind of moving apart and stuff. So I think maybe they kind of go up there. It's not really said too much, but I think they go up there to kind of like rekindle everything and just kind of get closer and stuff and get real deep into it, right? But yeah, anyways, it's they go out to this remote area and stuff like that, and basically what starts happening is you got some backwoods kind of fucked up people out there and shit, and they start getting picked off, of course, one by one. And it's kind of an interesting feel to the film because it's kind of like Last House on the Left meets the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's exactly like that. I mean, there's a character in the film that wears like this bag on his head, and it's kind of very reminiscent of Leatherface. Then you got these other two fucking backwoods hillbilly fucks that are actually filming. They're trying to make a real movie, you know, by kidnapping these people and torturing them and doing shit to them and stuff like that. And they're filming everything. So you have these two characters that are kind of a little bit reminiscent of Last House on the Left. And of course there is that there's a rape scene in it, and at the end of that rape scene, the girl gets thrown into this pond. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, that is like a blatant ripoff of fucking of Last House on the Left.
There's a difference between inspired and ripped off.
Yeah, it was actually very similar. But anyways, you know, it's basically about these, you know, these hillbillies and shit trying to make this real life movie. But, you know, you got this Leatherface type character that's going around hacking people up with a chainsaw.
The only Leatherface type character I want to see besides Leatherface is Turkey.
yeah. Totally. But you know, I gotta say though, man, for how low budget this is and how generic, you know, and it's really not that original. The last like 30 minutes of this film are pretty enjoyable. It's pretty fucking nasty. There's some nasty shit going on. You know, it's micro budget, but the gore is really well done. There's a scene where, you know, they never give this guy, the dude with the bag on his head, actually a name, I don't think. Or maybe I can't remember his name. But anyway,
could his name be Baghead?
Could be Baghead. Yeah, we'll just call him Baghead for the sake of whatever. But he cuts off
for the sake of whatever.
Yeah, he cuts off this guy's leg, and it's pretty nasty. Like, it looks pretty gory, and it's pretty cool and shit. That's one thing I liked about this. You know, there's a scene where, you know, these two girls, the two best friends or whatever, they're trying to escape or whatever, or not even escape. I guess they're trying to escape or whatever. But the one girl's like running up this fucking hill, and she's like coming across all these mutilated and rotten bodies and stuff. I really like that scene, the way it was shot. You know, for low budget, it just kind of looked disturbing a little bit. You're just like, holy fuck! Oh, there's another body. Oh, there's another one. And the like look on her face was like horrific. Like, she was just horrified, right? That was kind of cool. But, you know, this movie it's plagued with, you know, audio issues and stuff. The audio drops out real fucking low in some certain scenes. There's a scene where these two girls are sitting by this creek and they're talking, and the creek's obviously way, way louder than their audio. So you can barely even hear what they're saying. It's like, oh God, it's so frustrating to watch. I'm just like, oh fuck. But, you know, if you can get through all the little blips in the film and stuff, the last 30 minutes are definitely worth checking out in this. Pretty fucking nasty, having to do with, you know what? I'm not even going to give it away. It's pretty fucking nasty. You know, if you're into these backwood type slasher film, low budget shit, it's like I said, it's worth it to check out the last, you know, the end of the film and stuff. But it doesn't bring anything new to the table at all. After I was finished, after I was watching, I was like, well, okay.
What would you rate it?
That was okay. Like I said, it's plagued with some issues and stuff, and some fucking not so great acting at times. Actually, the acting in the movie is not the worst, but some of the characters are better than others. I would probably give it. Oh man, I think I got to give this one maybe like. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Actually, I'm gonna give it like. I
was expecting way lower based on the review.
Yeah, I know. I kind of focus on like a lot of the bad stuff, or you know.
I do that sometimes. Like when I reviewed Storm Warning, I focused a lot on the bad one. Really, I really liked the movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. I think the reason why I did that with this one is because basically the first hour of the film is kind of, it's very, very generic, but then the last 30 minutes kind of saves it because, you know, even though there's not a whole lot new in that end scene with the torture and all that shit that's going on and stuff, there's a couple kind of shocky moments that happen in the end of the film too, but there's some brutalness that kind of, you know, piqued my interest. I was like, it's actually not so bad. So it saved it a little bit, you know, but the whole lead up to it, there was a lot of issues and just very kind of generic. And I was like astounded at the blatant ripoff of, Last House on the Left with the rape and then her getting thrown in this fucking pond. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, this is totally Chainsaw meets fucking Last House. I'm like, this is insane. But, you know, with all that said, I mean, I think you can find this one for like really, really cheap, but I mean, it's definitely for like low budget fucking gore hounds and, you know, shit like that out there. But, you know, it was worth the watch. It wasn't the worst thing in the world.
All right, man. Pick of the week time.
Yep.
All right. So my pick of the week this week is actually A film that I watched regularly, at least once a year. I think this might be my second time watching it this year. And that is Mosquito from the year 1995. Now, the problem with this film is it's out of print as hell. It's one of the harder ones to find anywhere. You never see people. Even a lot of the stuff that's out of print, you'll see in the occasional update. You barely ever see Mosquito. It's so out of print.
Yeah.
Mosquito is a film that I absolutely love. I seen it on the Sci-Fi Channel as a kid. Maybe like 97 ish. And I anytime it was on TV late at night, I seen it late at night one night, and this is back when I talked about this before, but sci-fi back when they actually used to be awesome. So Mosquito follows a group of characters who are going through this kind of, I guess it would be like a park, like a national park, like you know what those things are,
Yep.
and like there's a park ranger guy and there's a couple, and basically what happened was there was an alien spaceship that landed somewhere nearby, and mosquitoes sucked the blood of the alien, and this is like a 30-second scene where they show this happening. So as a kid I didn't even realize what was going on because it just shows an arm, and it's an alien arm, and so the mosquitoes grow, so like man-sized mosquitoes, and basically they're just sucking the life out of everything around. There's a great scene in a tent with a couple having sex. Almost feels like a slasher film. And it all kind of ends up where the group of characters are in a house, and it's essentially a zombie film, like Night of the Living Dead in a farmhouse. With mosquitoes, they're boarding up the windows and shit, and there's also a side plot with Gunnar Hansen and a group of criminals. And there's a great scene with Gunnar Hansen and a chainsaw. He's like, I haven't held one of these since the 70s. It's stuck in there for the horror fans. It's awesome stuff. This is like one of the best B movies I've ever seen. I truly love this film, and it has some of the coolest effects. Great mosquitoes. They look, not CGI'd. There's a lot of practical effects. And I love the ending. I love there's a little surprise here and there about the mosquito nest. It's just a great movie. I wish more people can see it. It is on YouTube to see. It's uploaded because I have a bootleg, but it is on YouTube. Scream Factory or somebody just grab a hold of this thing and release it. It's a very underseen film, and it's because it's out of print.
Yeah, man. Dude, that movie has to get a re-release sometime. Like, nobody has seen that movie.
Yeah, I'm surprised I've seen it. Normally I'm the guy that doesn't know about these type of movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mosquito from 1995, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's one that I watch every couple months. It's a film that I've seen as a kid growing up many times. It's just crazy how many times it actually aired on TV. I love it. I love it so much, man. I really want you to see it because I think you would find the same enjoyment that I find in it. And I don't know who put it out, who owns the rights, but somebody needs to find out. I would love if everybody would just start blowing up Scream Factory's Facebook page, like put out Mosquito.
Yeah, I mean that would be fucking awesome, man. If the fans just totally got something put out like that.
This is the definition of a hidden gem, of something that very underseen. That time it's been forgotten. It's only from 1995, but it's a forgotten, awesome, gem.
Mm-hmm. Fucking rights, man. I can't believe I've never seen that movie. I've always wanted to pick it up, but I mean, seriously, the DVD prices. There's no fucking way. There's just no way I'm paying those fucking ridiculous prices for that shit, man. But you know how it goes, right?
Somebody got to grab it eventually.
Totally, 100%. All right, so my pick of the week. I actually kind of struggled with this, and but I'm going to go with this one. Released by 88 Films recently. It's also getting a Troma Blu-ray release shortly. I believe it's coming out sometime in the summer. and that is from 1976. Joel M. Reed's Blood-Sucking Freaks. Fuck, man, this movie is on a different level of craziness, man. I love this movie. Every time I watch this film, I'm just baffled by the time it came out and the shit that they were doing. But I'm going to really kind of cheat here. I'm just going to read off the synopsis here. In New York, Soho District, which is pretty cool. I've been to Soho before. The Masters of Ceremony, Sardou, runs the Theater of the Macabre, which specializes in acts where people are tortured and dismembered. The audiences dismiss it as a fakery, but the gore is real. Behind the scenes, Sardou and his dwarf assistant Ralphus torture and Ralphus and mutilate women for their own pleasure, as well as sell girls that they have abducted into slavery. When the critic Creasy Silo, I think that's what I can't remember what his name is, contemptuously dismisses the show, Sardou has him abducted and tortured. At the same time, Sardou, who also abducts the ballerina Natasha D. Natalie and determines to break her in order to make her agree to perform in his show. So yeah, so you got this fucking insane guy named Sardou. He runs this like off-Broadway show, and it specializes in, you know, kind of torture porn is basically what it is. I hate using the word torture porn, but in a way it kind of fits because he's literally torturing people that are naked. So that's why I threw in torture porn. I hate the term, but it's just kind of fitting here. It's kind of fitting, especially for the movie too. Like once you see it, you know exactly, like it's kind of the definition of it. But it's a really fucking twisted movie, and it's really bizarre. Like he literally has girls in this basement that are, you know, they're all kind of chained together, and there's a bunch of girls that are, you know, in this room, and they're almost acting like, you know, crazy zombies and shit like that because they're being mind fucked by Sardou and stuff. He's basically turning them into, you know, a Broadway show. You know, he's kind of mind fucking them into it. And shit like that, and that's what he does to these girls and stuff. If he's not selling them on the black market, he's creating these kind of zombie girls that are, you know, going to perform in his off-Broadway show. And what he does is he basically kills these people on stage in front of people, and people like applaud it, and they're like, yay, yay, you know. It's pretty fucking awesome. But this movie is twisted fucking shit, dude. Like there's a lot of scenes in the film with Sardou and his dwarf, and they're just doing crazy fucking twisted shit to all these girls and stuff. And there's literally tits and muff in every scene in this movie. There is so much nudity. This movie might even have the most nudity I've ever seen in, like, that wasn't a porno. It's insane, dude. There's so much fucking nudity. Like, I mean, the girls are naked the entire film. And it's just basically these two twisted fucks doing crazy shit. And, you know, eventually, he wants this, you know, this ballerina Natasha to, you know, come and play in his films, because he knows that she's actually a performer, right? And he's like, oh, I can get this girl to come in, but he, you know, of course, abducts her and brainwashes her and stuff, and then she's like all mind fucked and doing all this crazy shit and stuff. And this movie's awesome, dude. It's so much fun. It's really kind of actually surprising every time I watch it. Like, it came out in 1976, and it's one of those films that every time you watch it, you go, wow.
It's so weird. I'm getting like a really like Blood Diner vibe from it.
In a way, yeah. And this movie has a lot of crazy gore and like just crazy shit that's going on. I don't want to give any of the scenes away for people because it's more shocking just to go into it and just kind of see it for yourself. But there's a lot of fucking to it. Okay, I gotta talk about this one scene. There's a scene where it cuts to Sardou and he's eating dinner, and it's a close-up of him, and the camera starts panning backwards, and then you realize what he's doing. He's fucking eating dinner off this girl's back. Like, she's on all fours and she's naked, and he's like, fucking don't move. And he's got this candle that's sitting on the back side of her back, and it's dripping hot wax onto her, and every time it drips on her, she's like, and it's like torturing her as he's eating. He's like, now you fucked my dinner up. It's like,
Jesus.
It's like really fucked up scenes of like torture, and like, dude, the dwarf in this film is so fucking
Is this
funny,
one of
dude.
those movies that you're like, how did they come up with this?
Totally. And that's why it's always surprised me that it came out in like the mid 70s, and it's like kind of vicious. And then, you know, every time I watch it, I'm just like, man, it's such a unique film. It's really bizarre. Like, it doesn't sound overly that original and stuff, but I mean, for the time, dude, I don't think there was a lot of movies like this. You know, really kind of unique. And actually, the little dwarf in the film, he reminds me of like almost like a Bond character. It's kind of funny, man. Just like
You're
everything
talking
he
to the
says is
wrong
like,
person. I've never seen one James Bond movie.
okay. But anyways, like every time he talks, he's always calling Sardu his master and shit. And like the shit that they're doing, man. Like I said, I don't want to give anything away because it's just ridiculous, man. It's
Yeah,
so much fun, so much fun. But I highly, highly recommend Blood Sucking Freaks. I know a lot of people have seen this movie, but I really just wanted to talk about it because it was released recently on 88 Films, on Blu-ray, and I know it is coming out from Troma too. And I might even be tempted to pick up that, which just coming back to the whole thing of not picking up, multiple editions of films and stuff when you don't need them. But love this movie. It's a fantastic, really weird fucking watch. But yeah, if I had to rate it, I'd give it about an 8 out of 10. It's something else, man. It's something else. I love on this extreme, collector's edition slipcover says, "Warning: this film contains disturbing scenes of strong, gory violence." Just like the best thing right on the slipcover.
yeah,
But it's really well done. Like the gore and shit. Like it's, dude. I wish I could just give away some scenes, but I don't want to ruin anything. But Blood Sucking Freaks, check it out.
definitely, definitely.
All right, so that is going to do it for what we watched. So our main review this week is going to be the 2014 released film that I said on the top of the film.
Well, technically, it came out in 2013, released on DVD in 2014.
Yeah, exactly. Released on DVD in 2014, courtesy of Anchor Bay. And it is a found footage film called Mr. Jones.
So we originally was supposed to review a Dustin Mills film, but due to some shipping issues, we had to postpone that.
Yeah, that kind of sucked. But yeah, Mr. Jones. Do you want to give a brief synopsis on this?
Yeah. So did you before we start this review? Did you know that this was a found footage movie?
To be honest, I never read the synopsis before I just remember seeing it around.
I just seen the cover and a few images like as it was coming out. Yeah. And
I kind of got the hint though when I looked on the back, and the first screenshot that's on the back, I was like, that's found footage. And then I read the synopsis and I'm like, oh yeah, it's found footage. Interesting. Considering last week was top 5 found footage films. Very intriguing.
Yeah, so this one follows a couple as they decide to take a break from their everyday normal life and travel out to a cabin out in the woods somewhere. Seems kind of deep in the woods. As they are trying, the husband or boyfriend is trying to make some sort of film. He doesn't really know what he wants to make. He doesn't really know what he's doing.
He kind of wants to make like a nature documentary. That's kind of what he's hinting at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, but he doesn't know really where to take it.
Exactly. He's just because he's kind of poking.
He's kind of going with the flow.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I woke up this morning and I saw a bird and a squirrel ate a nut, and then I saw another bird.
Yeah, piss poor enthusiasm there. Exactly. So basically, you don't really know where it's going until they stumble across a man who decides to steal his bag. He eventually, tracks him down to another sort of house cabin out in the woods somewhere. They kind of ventured down into the basement of that house while the man is out. Kind of gave me. I was instantly getting a kind of a Jeepers Creepers vibe, which I was liking. I was like, all right, this is something cool.
I could see that. Okay, now getting back to going to the, him finding the house and stuff. Now, in your opinion, did that house seem close to where they were, or did it seem really far away?
It seemed close.
It seemed really close, right?
Yeah.
And I was really intrigued why they didn't notice it right away, because it seemed like it was literally next door.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if it was supposed to be far away. Either way, yeah. I think that it was probably just bad sense of, bad filmmaking in sense of, distance.
Yeah, exactly.
so as they go in there, they venture down into the basement and they see all these goddamn creepy ass scarecrow type sculpture totem type things.
Yeah, they're
Um,
like almost like Jesus scarecrows.
yeah, kind of like Blair Witchy stick figurey.
It's funny that you brought up the Blair Witch because there is times in those moments where I completely feel that's what I'm watching a little bit.
Yeah. So as they the guy returns, there's a scene of them stuck there. Kind of gave me a Wrong Turn vibe a bit. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
different vibes in this one. So they skedaddle out of there, and it turns out that there is something that the audience doesn't know that exists in this world, and that is a mythology of this Mr. Jones character. Mr.
Mhm.
Jones is uh, I guess it's kind of a mythological character in their world.
Yeah, he's like a mythological kind of slash, like almost like a legend kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like nobody really has any idea what or who Mr. Jones is.
So the backstory is this guy dubbed Mr. Jones by one of the people who first interacted with these gifts, I guess. Uh, Basically, there was the sculpture slash totem slash scarecrow things that we was talking about just showed up at random people's addresses across the world, across the country at least.
Mhm.
And there's different ideas and stories behind why this is going on. There's different theories, and basically this guy decides to track down these people in New York City and do a interviews because these two characters, the male and female, stumbled across the real Mr. Jones.
Mhm.
So they're making a film out of it. That's kind of the story in a long-winded version.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. That was good though. Now, my initial thoughts on the film right away. I personally thought that the film felt really unbalanced with the switch in kind of like in tone and stuff. Like basically, you
Which you
get like okay, you have these two characters, these two central characters, and they're out there and they're out in the woods and they don't really know what they're doing. They don't really have an idea who's going to make this documentary, whatever. And then all of a sudden, just switches like fucking, you know, completely over, and now it's all of a sudden into like documentary mode.
yeah.
And I was like, wow, that is really interesting the way they did that.
I found it I did find it kind of interesting as like just this how they got an idea for a documentary and they just started making it. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I did question it though. I was like, okay, because in the beginning of the film, one of the questions that he asked the audience, which is me and you, and one of the questions was, do you ever fantasize about selling everything and moving to the woods? Now, when you ask a question like that to us, you're kind of assuming that this movie is, not going to head back out of the woods. Hence, him going to New York and starting this documentary.
Yeah.
Do you feel me? Right? I questioned that right away. Like there was a bunch. Remember the narration in the beginning of the film? There was all these certain types of questions and stuff that they're kind of rhetorical though. Like you're not supposed to answer these
Yeah.
questions, but at the same time, I can't help but notice that the point of them going out there was to get away from reality and do something
Yeah.
in nature and
But
just and all of a sudden they're like, oh bang. But I understand, oh shit, man, we just stumbled upon Mr. Jones. We got to do something with this. That does make sense, but it just seems so
you know
drastic.
what I kind of read out of that though is he was trying to be bigger, that he didn't have no direction in anything, so he tried to make this big grand thing like I want to sell all my stuff and move out to the woods. But the instant that something actually happened in his life that actually is significant, he was like, fuck all that trash, screw all those ideas. It was just like that's what he was resorting to because he had nothing going on.
Oh fuck yeah, man. Completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely
So
agree.
my thing with this film, the probably the number one thing that I take away from it is somebody had a really cool idea with all these different pictures and images in their head, and they just didn't know how to make a movie out of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think one of the biggest problems with the movie is that you never really know or what Mr. Jones is. Like I think I think by the end of the movie, I think there's more questions than there is answers.
And I think it's just spitballing stuff. They're just going what they don't know how to make a movie out of it. They're just
But
doing
to be
things.
to be honest, man, to be honest, did you understand anything that was going on in the last 20 minutes of the movie?
Hell no.
Because it doesn't make sense. And I
And
actually
that's what I'm
rewound it.
saying
I'm
about
not gonna fucking lie. I finished the movie and I went back a couple of scenes and I was like, did I miss something? And I watched it again and I was like, I didn't miss anything. This movie just doesn't make sense.
no, yeah,
Because
it totally
because
is ideas that just they don't know what to do with them, so they just
yeah,
doing weird shit.
yeah. And I just found the whole movie to be a little pretentious because
Exactly.
they have this fucking idea and they're making it out to be so much better than it really is, but nothing comes of it. And
Yeah.
that's where the whole raising more questions than having answers at the end of the film, that does not work.
You know what
Even in
felt
a found footage
pretentious to
film.
me is when they're like, they kept having that back and forth dilemma where it's like Mr. Jones is good, he's saving us from something, and he's like, yeah, right, because there's all this
Yeah.
stuff, and it's just like, well, you're not answering the damn question, so you were just saying it. It just felt like annoying to me, like that this person was just trying to be smarter than it actually is. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm. Yeah, this movie's kind of all over the place, man. There's a lot of interest. Like, what was your feelings on the characters? I found that the way this movie was kind of structured was very interesting. Like, it gets into it right before even the header is even introduced as Mr. Jones, right? There's no character buildup whatsoever with the two main characters at all,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they show the header at 10 minutes into the film. It says it cuts out after a bunch of fucking birds and everything, like all this crazy shit starts happening, which is explain that to me. And then, it kind of cuts out and then it's like Mr. Jones. And I'm like, and then it's right into it. And I'm like, okay, there's no character development whatsoever. And you only have two characters in this film, main characters.
Yeah.
All we know is that they're together. And like, I mean, I don't know, man. I thought that was kind of a really weird way of kind of developing them as
I
characters.
thought they had great locations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the location in the woods were fine. I wasn't overly the big fan of the fast forward editing.
I hated all of that. All of that stuff towards the end, with like all the like digitized like all that stuff. I hated all that. I hated all that stuff felt very pretentious to me. I did love the design of this all the awesome scarecrow things. Those things all look cool to me.
In my opinion, it was the coolest thing in the movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wish
That's
I knew
what I'm
exactly
saying, where they had like a strong idea, and it's like they just had this concept of this creepy guy out in the woods who makes these like weird scarecrow things, and they have some kind of significant meaning, but the filmmaker has no idea what to do with that.
Well, and a perfect example of them not knowing what to do with, the Mr. Jones character and the little scarecrow things that he was sending to people was there was a point in the film where he's interviewing that one guy, and he was the guy that actually received one of them.
The guy that has the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember he asked me, he's like, why did you destroy it if it's worth lots of money and stuff? And he's like, well, because, and there's nothing there. There's no substance to it. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, you gotta fucking give us something here, man.
It's different. This is the same argument I hear other people make, and I 100% agree with it. There's a difference between being vague and ambiguous about things, as long as there's an actual answer to it. If the filmmaker knows the answer and doesn't want to tell us, that's fine. But this filmmaker did not have an answer to any of this stuff. He was just leaving it blank because he didn't know.
Because I mean, dude, like, seriously, you're creating this whole mystery behind Mr. Jones and why, like, he's sending random people things, and this is explained through a bunch of different people, but nobody has any idea why it's happening, and you're like, okay. And then, like, this guy receives this little scarecrow doll, and then he starts having, like, crazy nightmares from there. You're like, okay. And that's it.
I thought it was going to do something different. When they separate and the one guy goes to New York and the other girl stays there? Yeah. I thought it was going to show like his whole adventure, and then it was going to show what happened to her. Like, and I thought that was going to be kind of interesting. I thought it was going to go down this like Jeepers Creepers, like crazy guy out in the woods making these weird things route, and
Mhm.
I think I would have liked that a little bit better.
See, I wish they had have explored. I really wanted an explanation to why Mr. Jones was sending random people.
That's the part of the movie I care about. The whole like last
Uh,
20 minutes is such a different movie to me that I don't
yeah,
give a damn about.
I
There's
just
a
wanted to.
movie here. There's something here
There,
that you have,
there's
and you
totally
just
a
let
movie
it
here.
go.
There's totally a movie here because, I mean, they're hinting at the idea that he's sending these things by chance. That it's not random. He's
Yeah,
sending these things to people for a reason, but they never explore it, and then you kind of lose all interest. You're like, well,
yeah,
fuck, man,
Mr.
we need to know
In a
something.
good script, Mr. Jones has an agenda. Mr. Jones has
Yeah.
these things, reasons why he's doing stuff. The whole thing that I liked about the underground tunnel with the big, open area with the like sacrifice thing, that was all cool. Explain it. Tell me what it means.
Yeah.
You're just putting random things at a certain
Well, they
point
did.
there,
They really did do random things in this film because
especially
you know
towards the end with the other hymns showing up with the cameras. It's
totally.
completely nonsense. It's tonally so different.
Yeah, totally. And there is a part in the end of the film where um, they're talking about Mr. Jones, how he's making these things to like, protect from evil spirits and stuff. But then that creates the notion of, is he like Mr. Jones? Like, I mean, you kind of get this, the feeling that he's evil himself, but he's there to protect from evil spirits. I was like, okay, they're just not exploring anything here.
And another
It,
thing is,
it
this
was a little
film
confusing.
absolutely 100% did not need to be found footage. It could have worked just as fine in a regular
Yeah.
style way.
And that was another thing that really annoyed me because I actually had the same point. I said this movie could have totally been a normal film, not found footage. But didn't you find the way they filmed with the dual lenses a little obnoxious? Because
Because the point of it is to get more angles. But that at that point, why not just make it not a found footage film then?
exactly, I had the same fucking thought
Yeah,
on.
I found it to be completely silly. And dude, it sucks so much because there is a film here. There's a great idea with great unique original things. Those scarecrow things looked awesome. The Mr.
Mhm.
Jones character was creepy. There was a time when when he shows up behind her and she looks at him and she goes to like interview him. Like I found that to be pretty creepy.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think my biggest concern with or problem with this film is that there's too many questions, man. I just
Yeah.
want to know more. Like, I mean,
And there's no answers to him. That's the problem.
that's the thing. And there's a scene in the film where the girlfriend, she's filming him, and it's actually kind of a creepy scene. I will kind of give you that though. Like, it almost seems like he just kind of pauses and he's just kind of standing there dead and
Yeah,
stuff.
at first I thought he was a
It's,
scarecrow thing
but
because he's so still.
it's weird the way they shot that because at first he was moving and then he wasn't moving, and then it kind of gave me the notion that maybe he is actually one with these things.
Okay, see, I thought that, but I thought that would be stupid. So I was like, maybe somehow he like put one there and like he pushed it up to where it looked like he was walking.
But the thing that bugged me about the whole scene, though, it never affected her. Like the way we saw it and perceived,
Yeah,
uh, Mr. Jones was okay. There's something interesting here because they show a glimpse of his face and he's like dead looking,
yeah.
like he's not human. Like he's not human anymore. Maybe he's dead. Maybe he's undead. I don't know. But if I was her and I saw that face and he paused and like all of a sudden became almost like a fucking scarecrow himself, wouldn't that kind of freak you out a little bit?
Yeah. There's
She
so
doesn't even
much
react
here
to it.
that
She doesn't
just is
react to
not
it.
here.
Yeah, she doesn't react to it, and I'm like, that really, really fucking bugged me. I will
Yeah.
say there was a few very subtle, creepy moments in this film, and I do
I
applaud them for
agree.
not
Like
doing.
when you first see the guy in the background when he's doing his little nature thing where he's sitting on the rocks, and
Yeah,
you see him one time, and then you see him again later in the film. But yeah, totally awesome, subtle, creepy moments,
yeah,
and it just feels like everything was wasted because it all leads to nothing, and it all leads to questions, and it all leads to
yeah, man.
questions that can't be answered because the director himself or the writer doesn't know the answers.
Yeah, I mean, the whole end of the film was there were so many cliched parts in the end of the film too. Like, when shit starts going crazy and you're like, okay, what the fuck is going on kind of thing.
Doesn't it just feel like they didn't know what to do, so they're just doing like
Exactly.
whatever they can think of?
But then you get the editing in the film where it's like, where they're having all these technical issues with the cameras and it's all cutting out, and they just kind of
It's
edited
so
that shit.
annoying, dude.
I'm like, oh my God. I said to myself out loud, Jesus fucking Christ, again? It just all
Because there
fucking
was
cliche.
still a
I'm
little
like,
bit
what
of
the
hope
hell, man?
before that, where you're like, all right, well, maybe it's all going to make sense in the end, and then you start seeing all that shit, and you're just like, all right, they don't even know what they're doing anymore.
Oh, dude, man, I know the whole
It's
end.
such a
Like
disappointing movie.
the last 20 minutes of that film, I was just like, what the fuck? I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, man. And there's a lot of things that are happening and that don't make sense. And what it all comes down to, it's very anticlimactic.
It really is.
It's so anticlimactic. And you're like, even if it didn't make sense, and like it seemed, and it's very fucking kind of, exciting to watch. And there's, things that, none of that's going on. You're just like, it ends. You're like, what the fuck? Seriously.
Yeah.
I
don't have a whole lot more to say about it because I think we actually covered it very well.
Yeah, I mean, there's good things about the film, and there was just too many bad things. And I think, just to wrap it up, but I think my biggest problem was that there was too many damn questions that were unanswered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm fine with having questions that are unanswered in certain films as long as other things are explored and kind of answered. This one didn't give you anything. Like, yeah. I want to know who the fuck Mr. Jones is and what he's actually trying to accomplish, if anything. Yeah. It's just certain things, man, need to be touched on in the film. And man.
And if you don't tell us a direct answer, point us in the way of a few answers. They don't even do that. They don't even nudge us in a direction.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you rate this thing?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna give this one like a 4.5 out of 10. I'm gonna give it points for. I can't recommend it, man. I can't see a lot of people actually kind of digging this one. Like, there is decent points to this, but there's so much that doesn't work for me that, by no means it's not like a terribly like shot film and stuff.
No, it looks good. It the beginning stuff. Once they get in that final like 20 minutes, it's awful. But
like the problem is though, you can shoot a movie really well, but you got to give us some. You got to give us something back here. We're gonna watch this. You got to give us something, man.
Okay. Yeah. My rating is I'm gonna go a little higher because I do think those moments where I was genuinely a bit creeped out count for something because that's not easy to do. So I'm gonna give it a 5.5. I think it's just the slightest bit above average in terms of if you watch it once, you'll find some things that will affect you, and you'll find something there.
Yeah, a couple things that we didn't touch on. This movie is rated PG-13, by the way.
Yeah,
and there's absolutely no blood or gore in this film at all. So if you're expecting anything like that, the
closest to gore you're gonna get is like jaw bones from animals.
Yeah,
or like this actual like bone like used as like a like ornament.
Yeah, and to be honest, the rating had nothing to do with my review or our views on this at all.
No, like I said, I have PG-13 horror films that I think are fantastic. You can make a good one, and this one could have been a good one. There was stuff there.
Yeah.
I think the first half hour of the movie is pretty solid, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like I said, I felt that it was a little unbalanced when it kind of switches major gears there, but it wasn't that bad. It's just
how does the good outweigh the disappointment? No, but it doesn't. To me, I think I've seen worse films that are average. I think this was just the slightest bit above average. From what PG-13. I don't know. I give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah. All right, man. So I guess that is going to conclude the 21st episode of the 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror podcast. Yeah, that was fun, man. That was good.
That was a good episode. We talked a lot about a lot of different things. We covered a lot of stuff on this one.
We did. So yeah, just a quick reminder for everybody out there, the question of the week is pertaining to, this week's, final review or main review. Top 5 rated PG-13 films. That's why I did it. So just thought I'd let you guys in on a little bit of a secret.
Yeah. Also, you can email us at 22 shots of moods in horror at gmail.com. Just, it's the exact name of the show, all one word, in an email address. And then 22 shots podcast on Twitter. We've been getting a few people actually have been, commenting on the episodes through Twitter. I think that's pretty awesome. Of course, thedevilseyes.com, knowyourhorror.com, and of course our YouTube channels, which you can find anywhere. And please, if you're part of the Facebook group and you have other people that like horror films and stuff, invite them, because the group is truly amazing. I check it. That's like what I do on Facebook now.
That's pretty much the only thing I actually do on Facebook. So I don't even check the general feed barely ever. I just go straight to the group page. But of course, all the links will be down below in the video. So of course, Know Your Horror, Devil's Eyes, our email, Twitter link, iTunes, all that stuff, our channel links, everything will be down there. All right. So for next week, I really don't know how to say this, but next week is going to be the season finale. So if you guys are still listening right now, yeah, I know I just broke a lot of hearts right there, but next week is going to be the season finale. We are going to break for the summertime because it is, of course, summer and we're just really busy and stuff. But you know what? We're not going to get into all that fucking bullshit, but it's summertime and we just figured, you know what? We're going to regroup and come back in the fall time. But of course, you guys go ahead.
The best way to kick off, the summer is with a great horror franchise surrounded around the summer, right?
That's right. So next show is going to be Sleepaway Camp franchise discussion. So, I mean, really, to end, and we didn't do this purposely, actually, to end the show on the 22nd episode. It actually just kind of weirdly enough worked out like that. Yeah. It was really odd, but
it really did. Like, nobody planned it at all. It just happened. 22 episodes. We'll be back in the fall. I mean, I love this show so much. It's one of the things I truly love doing this every week. I'm gonna miss it. But we'll definitely, we'll be back.
And the coolest thing is, Ben, we have lots of new ideas for the fall time.
Totally revamped.
Yeah, we're going to revamp the whole thing.
But it's going to keep everything you like, of course.
Exactly. And yeah, we're going to throw some new kind of twists and stuff in there. Twists. Fucking horror talk right there. Everything's got to be a twist, right? No, but just, new things and stuff.
We got some great ideas for episodes.
Yeah, so it should be a fun time. And yeah, we're going to work on that all summer. And yeah, so anyways, guys, we will see you next week. We will be back, of course, with Sleepaway Camp. I'm really, really fucking excited to rewatch these movies.
I know. I'm excited to watch the Scream Factory Blu-ray and Part 2. Part 2 is I haven't seen it in a couple years, but I remember Part 2 being pretty fun.
I am not looking forward to watching Return to Sleepaway Camp though. Again.
I've never seen it, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what's up with it.
I can't wait to talk about that one. It's gonna be funny. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for episode 21. Once again, top 5 PG-13 films for next week. Answer the question. If you guys have any other questions, please again, leave comments.
Definitely.
Yes, send them email, podcast, or the Facebook page, or you can leave
Twitter,
them right down.
Anywhere, man. We'll get
anywhere. Them. Yeah. So, and I think we didn't miss anything this week. So yeah, I feel good about that. Anyways, guys. We're going to check you later. Peace out.
Later.